Let's get that on recording. You want
Permanent
to say
pass.
what? You want to say that again now that we're recording?
So you have a permanent pass for recording.
Awesome. Cool. That's great. So just to be clear, so anybody who's watching understands, we will plan to make everything that we're sharing public. If anything that gets said, like someone's name comes up that we don't necessarily know they want us to talk about them, that we will stop the recording so we can edit it right there, and then we'll start a new recording afterwards. And if we don't stop the recording all the way through, we'll just plan to make the whole thing public. So sound good?
Sounds good to me.
Awesome, bro. Cool, man. I am so psyched that we are reconvening now after our, little Thanksgiving break. The time we got to connect last week. There's been so much that's been going through my head and evolving in this time. Um, there's a lot of things I want to get to today, but I really just want to start with tuning in to what you're seeing, what you're feeling. I shared a lot with you last week, and with the stuff I sent you, like the proposal and that sort of thing, just to have you get as much as you could of what is here, because I could see already, like you were sharing, all the different ways your mind was processing it and tying it back to past thoughts that you've had and aspirations of similar types of functionalities and all of those sorts of things. Today we're really going to see like how we can narrow in on each of these like separate channels of synergy, that we're sharing, so we can really understand like where our interests align, where our synergies align, ways that we can create value for each other, ways we can create positive feedback loops so we can just keep increasing. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. But I just want to start with like tuning in to how you're processing everything and what all this means in your world right now.
Um, Thank you for that. Well, the beginning of this project, of me being introduced to this project, is happening at a time in my life where many transitions are overlapping, transitions from different angles. So that gives already the project a sense of belonging within my timeline, being such a vast disruption, which is probably the word that can best describe, that could be the common denominator for this transition of transitions that I'm having. And, it's a combination of things, it's a combination of self-realization as well as the evolution of humanity. And more so interesting for me, the evolution of humanity from a spiritual intellect and strategy. So, and it's such an open-ended concept that, it becomes a default reference for anything futuristic, really. So whenever now I have a technology thought, I'm thinking of this thought mapping concept that will serve anything else we do, right? So if we have that as a primer to our systems, I think I believe the benefits are infinite, and they're not limited to industries, class levels. If anything, it's more of a leveraging tool, a very large leveraging tool for the economic engine that's either broken to be fixed or expiring. Either way, this is suitable for the future coming. So to be a part of the inception stage and the genesis of this is pretty significant. As I stay most of my time in the trenches working, I have a lot I've taken myself in many directions, which is exactly what makes me suitable for this. So, our blessing is also our temporary curse, because I'm divided. I'm pretty much doing I'm the human system, of that. And then I'm collecting thoughts, I'm running, but I'm doing this in time and space. I'm running back and forth. I'm still behaving as a particle. We're trying to turn this into a wave. So, but my curriculum is your project plan. See? So, everything about me is, even before this company was created, Yo Synergy, 5-6 years ago, my name prior to that was Source Synergy. I have nobody, I'll synergize with Source. We'll see what happens then, It's like putting a dot to start a spiral, right? So, there were many attempts. I won't call them failed. I will call them lessons to get this off the ground, but the timing wasn't right for my own. This is something, my project has been tied to my spiritual growth in every sense you can think of, in purpose, timing, timeline, parallel milestones. It's all a spiritual journey. So I'm living through a gigantic convergence point that brings us to ours. Amongst others, it's just it's a synergy soup. That could be the name of the podcast. It's a synergy soup, And I understand it mathematically, not humanitarianly. Beyond that, I understand it for its function. I'm not an engineer, but I understand its function. This is a sense telling me this is right. And I've been involved in technology projects before, the development of technology projects that made it to the stock market, actually. And, but I don't have a strong sense of technology itself in terms of what's under the hood, software engineering and coding. I do know that AI is about to make a lot of that obsolete. So, I don't know how that's going to play out for us, but, I do see, I won't call it concerns, just small notifications in my mind about things to make sure we're not reinventing technology that's already out there. Not as a whole, not modularly either, just a small example, and this could be vague, but this call right here, I had a Zoom call with my boss. He was in Thailand. We had a Zoom call yesterday. It's my boss for one conference that I work every year in New York City. And after the call, he sent me the minutes that were extracted by AI. It's a built-in feature. So, I immediately thought of this project and said, okay, well, there's that, at least for now, until they kind of want to hold hands with us and just synergize. So if I see it correctly, we might be in an accelerated course as technology comes out. We're not competing with anyone. We are encompassing everyone. Correct?
Yeah, that's it exactly. Specifically because we're making it all open source and saying, these are our needs, who's going to fulfill them? The ones that are most capable of fulfilling the highest level needs are the existing businesses serving those areas, right? You're going to have your sales force show up to provide all the CRM stuff, along with all the other CRM companies. And you're going to have, Google show up to play its role, and Apple show up. Everyone's showing up to play their role in the creation of this collective effort.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, it's going to be very incentivized for everyone to be first movers, right? So it's going to be, when as soon as we let everything open, a rush for these corporations to be at the leading edge of doing this. And part of it is that they get to insulate themselves from the real challenge that corporations have right now when they want to be socially progressive. You've seen what's been happening over the years is that you can't pick an issue without losing half of your customers, right? Like that's like automatic, no matter what the issue is. It's like you're going to get half of your customers really happy and half of your customers really pissed off, and in our polarized world, right? And what this system allows all of these corporations to do is to say, we're not taking sides around any issue, and we see that this is the path forward on all issues to move us as a society rapidly ahead. And we want to sponsor at the highest levels. We're going to have the biggest corporations are going to be giving like hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars a year in sponsorship, because they want to help lead. They want to be seen as leading society in this way. You get that? It's like the ultimate philanthropy that's like untouchable, because it's just like we're moving society forward. We're going towards sustainability. It's like, you get what I'm saying? It's hard.
It's built in. It's built in versus optional.
Say that again.
It's built in social responsibility.
Exactly.
Integrated social responsibility.
Plus that, again, like we talked about before, the consumers are going to be driving, the brands and the corporations, the consumer desire. So it's going to be all these corporations wanting to meet the moment, and again, it'll be early. It'll be like the first adopters, the ones that are willing to stick their neck out, so to speak. But
I have two thoughts that I don't want to escape. One is having petitions from the customers built into the system that they could be directed automatically. And also, in terms of financial involvement, I think carbon credits is a good source. Carbon credit institutions.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm going to make a note. I could keep going about what I was saying, but I don't want to keep going down that. We could go down that road more later. I want to let you continue with what you were sharing. I just wanted, since you mentioned that it was in your mind, I wanted to address it sufficiently with you. Is there more you want me to say about the fact that, again, the whole world gets to show up and be who they want to tell the world they are, right, within this new model? So the corporations that choose that and say, we want to be leading the world in this direction, are going to be the first movers, essentially, right? And very soon along the way, like we talked about, Wall Street will be moving. So we'll have like a timeline of the early adopters, and then
the early adopters, yeah.
And then the ones that come along later. So
there's math to that, as far as what percentage is a tip over.
Exactly. And for us right now, the only job is to find those that resonate, because as we find those that resonate, it'll start naturally like growing out, right? And as we start to expand the bubble, and that's why also the influencer army is such a big part of this, because we're going to work with the influencers to help move all of it, right? So they'll help move the corporations in a really big way as well, right? And the Wall Street and all of that, So again, there's lots of mechanisms built in to be able to, one, like you said, not reinvent the wheel. That's kind of the point of the system, as we're all in this collective thought mapping thinking process. We're tuned in to like what the world leading experts are saying about any specific solution, right?
We're installing a wheel versus reinventing it. We're installing an actual wheel.
Exactly. We've got like all the wheels in one place to choose from, right? And figuring out what the best wheels are for everything, and always pulling the best wheel off the rack for everything we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that falls because typically business practices are driven by the bias of profit. So if you're able to establish a system that sits in the economy before those biases kick in, actually, it's more like a functional tool, functional avenue, functional conduit, instrument, a synergy booster, it's a fluidity accelerator, whatever you want to call it. It actually, it's not even neutral to profit. It's conducive to profit. So it's the meeting point of that we need, pretty much. Productivity and let's call it recognition, versus profit. Could be financial, but yeah, I understand how it all plays out. I have business models written out about the microeconomic model I'm following instinctively, intuitively. Where my prior corporate experience came in for me to create this agency model was in scalability, structure, but as far as practices and protocols, all these things are being bent to my inner feelings. So that ended up creating a triangulation, 3 points, which are the main players in the economy, the influencers, the corporations, and for us, the nonprofits and these organizations, and the leverage of everybody's influence and input and function to come together. For me, I was approaching it as a practice that would create habit, that might create academic influence, that's the long route. Through here, we actually have the future of the future. So, it's a future, it's a tool from the future for people that think in the future. Right? So it's almost like 2 degrees from where we're at. To that extent. So I feel like I understand it. There are going to be many moving parts that I'm going to be curious. I won't be able to deconstruct, but I believe I see the big picture, and what I feel, and I also feel like I said, just to say it in another way, this web that's been the outcome of the trajectory that I've chosen, this network web, this functional network web where circuitry is actually firing between them as intended. I believe that framework superimposes on an instrument like that, like what we're discussing. So there's a lot of, because I tried to follow instinct, which to some people can be called human nature, to some people the Holy Spirit, right? But because of that, then it's going to guarantee objective resonance. And so will this tool. That's what I felt. And I also felt like for the visibility and acknowledgments of these ways of thinking, of these ways of using technology and ourselves and our businesses, I believe that the world had to also simultaneously be closing in on us, kind of disproving the system to make way, So the system is disproving itself and collapsing in front of our eyes. And to have something that could merge in organically, I think it's great, I don't have all the qualifications to appraise the project in terms of certain capabilities, but I believe in it, I know how to take things one moment at a time. So that being said, one important section of me exporting information is going to be the the different points that I touch, that have, especially those that have already reflected back, kind of like synergy vibration, whether they're waking up to it or already in that motion, and we meet by synchronicity. So no work needs to be done, kind of like with us, 10 years ago, you still be explaining this to me, but now it fits into my mold, and that's a vast network, and I'm happy because I believe in some way, shape, or form is going to allow me the opportunity to also organize it, right, and categorize it. So it's a need. It's a need that I knew I needed. Not a need that I didn't know I needed. It's a need that I knew I needed. I just, I'm just, in the rhythm of the happenings, allowing things to happen, and we allow this to happen, and here we are. But it was coming in this direction, and I was going in that direction all along. So, let me know in what format you want me. You want me to give you a story, and we gather people as we go, or go by industries, or
Yeah, first of all, I just want to, thank you and acknowledge you for everything that you just shared, brother. I shared it before, and I want to share it more on even a deeper level, hearing you share all of that, which is, you know, I've been in a divinely guided position for a long time, and I've been in for many years, for the most part, in this cave working on this stuff, purposefully disconnecting myself from the world, because when I'm on Facebook, when I'm talking with friends, then in my moments in between, I'm thinking about this person, this, and this. I mean, whatever I allow into my world are the thoughts swirling in my head, right? And I could not do the work that you've seen produced at this point with all of those thoughts of the world swirling in my head. I've had to cut it all out and go into a monastery, which I did not realize I was building for myself until a few years into the process. I'm like, holy shit, I am living a monastic life because of what it affords, a vow of silence, complete disconnection from everything, total devotion into being in the space that you're describing. You and I have ventured into the same spaces energetically. And I, as an engineer, as a website programmer, as all of these things, I've spent all of my time in that space figuring out, how do I bring it into the world? How do I program it? How do I make sense of it all? That was like the biggest thing, is I've just spent all these years just bringing all this data of the world inside of me, saying, how do I make sense of all of this? Like, where do I begin to start to organize all of this into a way that we can have a world that works, right? So it was just so many years of like not even knowing where to turn with it all, but just like trusting that with enough processing time that it would all get figured out over time. And over the years, as you can see, and at some point, as all of the like history is online, the evolution of all of this will be really clear, because it wasn't like a leap overnight from like something to this. It was like so many generations of evolution. It was so many times that I got to this point, and then a week later or a month later, or even the next day, it's like, oh, now I get it on a whole different level, and it's evolved 100 times, 1,000 times, like so many evolutions of so many thoughts, so deep down these thought paths that we're talking about, right? And that I've been doing all of this venturing down all these thought paths without the system that we're describing, that I'm showing you, but that I've been going through this process and now been trying to figure out, after all these years, how to systematize this process so we can all do it. We can all do it together. And so now that it's all coming out of me, like you shared before, and I so get, I am not acting on behalf of Jared. I am acting on behalf of the collective. I have been gifted, with being able to immerse myself in this infinite sea of possibilities and come back with ways that we can program things in order to make sense of it all and use it and put these concepts into practical actions. And, I am so blessed. It's been a real challenge, as you can imagine, to be feeling essentially the weight of the world, to know that I could do all of this, but it would take years of devotional effort, and that's just what I had to do. I never realized it would be more than 10 years for sure, but I just always knew that like I was getting there, I was getting there, I was getting there. So one, the fact that I have to acknowledge myself in the process to understand the blessing that this is for humanity. And when somebody like you sees it for yourself and feels it for yourself within you, and you get the evidence that like you are here at the beginning, like nothing has been decided, organized, like you have a blank slate to work with, and you get to define for me and for the world what it is that you're going to wrap your arms around, and you're going to be responsible for this whole part, and start inviting everyone else to show up to support you with whatever that is, right? So it's like, this is the opportunity for everyone, and you get it on such a deep level, and you've been visioning it and seeing it, but this is like where our conversation is going. It's like, okay, we're about to create an entirely new world. We're about to start mapping the first thoughts into our collective global brain that will be, central for everything. You being one of the very first pioneers, what thoughts are you going to lay down for all of history? What ways are you going to start guiding humanity and go off on these paths that are most important to you, to say, this is where we go, and this is where we go, and who's ready to join me around this, and who are the experts that can get this done, and who has the resources that can get this done. You get what I'm saying? Like, this is everyone's opportunity to start creating reality. And that's like one of the real, huge benefits, obviously, of all of this. But in particular, this is where I want to take this moment to acknowledge you and who you are, that God, the universe, source, creator, however it is in anyone's language, has put you here in this moment to be able to make of this opportunity whatever you can envision for yourself, whatever level you can imagine for yourself on a global level. This is your opportunity to speak it into existence, and then to actually go out and, like you said, get it done. So you get to decide what that looks like. And I'm so grateful that you are here in this moment, because I've been getting along the way with this journey. And this is why I've been spending this time with you without us going to deeper levels of detail yet, because I've got reflected in you what has been inside of me to get me here, which is this, unshakable, like, determination to go where we're going, to create the world that we see. What you're going to see as you are in this process is the ambitions of this project, of what we're doing, shine such a bright light that so many people, when they step in front of the mirror of that light, like, it's too much, like they're not ready to step in front of the stage. And in many ways, I'm not ready to step in front of this stage. And yet this is what is required in order for us to go forward. And I get that you're in that same space from what you've shared with me. It's that you're not ready as much as I'm not ready, and too bad, because we have to go. Like, it's too dire for us to sit on the sidelines. We have to just make the best of ourselves and what we can do. and support each other as we invite everyone else to come and be supported together. And I am going to create you as the most divine expression that you can imagine yourself to be. And you are going to continue to create me as the most divine expression that I can imagine myself to be. And we are going to keep inviting others to come into this place of mutual support where we are connecting and creating on the highest levels that we can imagine for ourselves, because together we can create that together. And so I really want to be clear that I feel like you have been chosen for this moment and this position that you're in. And however it goes from here, I want to honor you for who you've been, how you've been in this lifetime and others, whatever it's taken for you to be the one that I'm having this conversation with, and that you're reflecting all of this back with me. And however this goes, I honor you and appreciate you so much, brother, for who you are and being here with this.
Likewise, brother. So many thoughts as I was listening and agreeing and listening and processing and trying to discipline my mind to not overexceed itself. So I was able to hold it. I did distract myself a tiny bit, creating a theory, right? This is just quantum stuff, because as the thought of hold back, Yasser, was going on, there was a successful, subtle thought going on of, wow, we only forget bullshit because you are literally keeping track of everything you want to say later. I was literally piling them, and I would go back for microseconds and be like, I still got them all. And I think I still got them all. So if I get them all, that'll prove my theory correct, which we only forget bullshit. Yeah, you know, I'm seeing it in my own mind as a case study. You know, first I want to start with, we start backwards. I believe that this conversation and the future conversations and maybe past conversations have a lot of marketing seeds in them. You know, we go through thoughts that inspire taglines and things. You know, you were talking about, you know, creating the opportunity, but we're not creating an opportunity. For the first time, we're the opportunity. You're the opportunity. Like, it's one conversation, you know, it's not a person and an opportunity. It's like we are integrated with the opportunity, and that gives a lot of room for catchy, thought-provoking marketing. Also, you know, is an opportunity, besides coming up with marketing, maybe more important, with functionalities. Because as I'm here trying to pile my important thoughts without throwing them over, I said, how can he know if my thoughts are going, if you know, if the healthiest thing to do will be to let me come in? How can we tell each other that? How can I know right now? You know, because I don't think that's a matter of time. I don't think we should give each other 2 minutes to a minute. I don't think it's because time, space, or it's not real. So you could have a million thoughts in a second, no thoughts in 2 minutes, you know? So say as we're going right now, if you had some type of control every time one boom, boom, as you can hold them. And I'm having a visual gauge, actually, you know, redlining, you know, hey, go ahead, you know, this. And everybody calibrates that to their level of, you know, if I can't remember more than two thoughts at the same time, once I put one, I don't know, somehow moderated, but give something, it's a soft regression of interruption, you know, without canceling interruption, without interrupting interruption, we actually pull back because we have systems that allow us to concede it, you know.
Yeah, man, I'm so grateful that you're sharing that in this moment so that you can share with me more of the specifics of how these thoughts go through your head around the technology and the functionality. And I will share just quickly so you get it from my perspective. What you just described is an app that pretty soon, when we have the beta launch, I think when we have the beta launch, I have to see, but I think by the time we get to the beta launch, you'll be able to build that app yourself through an interface with the system. So you can essentially, and perhaps even through AI, so perhaps nothing more than what you just said. And then all of a sudden, here's the app that does that, you know?
See, I need that. I need that. Within the need, I also have that need. When I say I need it, is because when I hear you describe that, and I think about it, I see the dam opening. Of it's I've been asking myself how I did spend some time, and I want to say that actually, go ahead if you have something you want to share something.
Well, I just going to say regarding the app and that sort of thing, just so you understand more of my thinking around it. The reason, again, that is each one of these is a different app within this whole operating system is so that it can all be interacting and informed behind the scenes, right? So you've got that one app that does this like notation during the video of all of that, but all of that integrates seamlessly with the AI processing of the video, of the editing of the video, all the other functionalities that we're talking about too.
Analytical reporting. You can probably even see thought maps,
all of it
depends on apps. I'm sure apps interconnect amongst themselves as they have certain commonalities that you can see shades of what's what and who's a minority thought, what's not.
Exactly. And the way that works functionally is when a person like you shows up and ties a couple apps together with a bunch of stuff, then you're making royalties from it. The people that had the apps that you tie together are making, again, all of that gets sorted out. So everybody's earning from the benefit they provided to the collective, right?
This is mapping thought and mapping the economy.
Yeah, exactly. And again, the way to just really imagine it all, to just keep realizing where this ranges to, is that any way that you could want to process data, understand data, see data, like you will have access to all of that in through interfaces that make it simple and easy, and turning a dial and moving a button and moving a dial and pressing a button, all of that. So all of it is available to all of us all the time, and it is just simply through these interfaces, which again, very quickly we're going to go from where we're interacting, not only just talking, but through the interface in front of us, so that we're following the thoughts and we're seeing, like you're seeing in real time, that as you have a question, that I've already like answered that question like 2 days ago in a 5-minute video. And so like you hit a pause and you're like, let me watch this 5-minute video and let's reconvene in 5 minutes. Our conversations are about to start to get a lot more asynchronous, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be traveling down a lot of existing thought paths that people have already laid down. So we're not taking their time, to re-say something that they've already said. We're going ahead and absorbing it. It's only for the new thing. We're essentially saying, okay, I saw all that you said about this. Now I have this question, this question, this question. And I say, I either answer it in like a recorded video, or I say, hey, let's have a meeting so I can answer those in person. And then those are going to become part of my thought map, so that the next person has
a little breakout room, somewhat of a breakout room, right?
Yeah, exactly. We're getting, again, it's because we're being driven. I know we're kind of down a rabbit hole a little bit, but it's important for you to get a sense of where I see this and why. Is that everything is going to keep being driven by efficiency and effectiveness, right? Especially once we get to this systematization, it's like we'll have very little tolerance for wasting time anymore, right? Because we'll have so many valuable ways that we can use our time in important ways. So we will respect that we're not going to ask people to repeat to us what they've already said to somebody else, because we don't want to repeat ourselves for people. So we're all going to be in this agreement of consuming a lot of somebody else's thought maps till we get to the end of their thought maps. We don't know what they think beyond that, because they haven't laid it down. And that's where we say, what about this? What about this? What about this? And that's where that person gets to decide.
We're cutting the fat.
What's that?
We're cutting the fat out of communication. We're drifting to the center of communication.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good way of putting it, because we're all just tuning right into where our thoughts align and what we need to know in order to make things work and who's in agreement. And it's all about just aligning our thoughts, which again, it's not that we're going to take away interpersonal communications, but we're just going to make sure that when we're spending time speaking with someone, that it's not just for the value of the time together, that we're leveraging all of that time to get all of those thoughts down into our thought map so that somebody else can be consuming that later and taking it and running with it, right?
I got you. And whether it's a stranger doing a global search and then says, you know, before I go on with this, let me find, well, and then they find somebody across the world or next door, or whether it's me, if I'm assuming if I'm transmitting to you a message via this portal, it will let me know if you already have it because it's checking your bank for it before it transmits it, or some way of doing that.
Yeah, essentially
constraining me if I'm going to offer redundancy.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna be arriving on my thought map wherever that thought is that you're having. You're gonna see where I've taken it, so you can follow the paths that already exist there, or you can choose some tags to kind of hyperspace to some other thoughts, right? To see if I've had them or see what other friends have had them. And then again, a lot of times it's just you're gonna create an invitation, for someone to share their thoughts. So I may answer or someone else may answer or what have you, but you're going to be, setting like, here's where the conversation is happening. I would love to hear what you have to say. And that's going to be a lot of content creation as well, right? A lot of our content creation is really just going to be about reality creation. It's like we have an intention of a reality we want to create. We're very clear about what conversations, what stories, what details have to be provided in order to create agreement. We didn't get into it before. I'll share just a little bit now so it makes more sense. Reality creation, all of these nano actions, it all comes down to creating agreements. Once you have a reality generating machine and you've defined all the 20 different roles that you need filled in order to set up the set, set up the lighting, shoot the video, edit the video, you've got all the steps laid out, right? You need to create an agreement with some person or some entity for every single one of those nano actions in order to have a fully functioning reality generating machine. You get what I'm saying? Like as long as you're missing an agreement for any essential part, you've got an almost job done, right? But that almost job done could never get done. I mean, when you are defining all the essential roles, whenever you're missing any one role, you don't have squat. You could have 19 agreements and it doesn't matter if you can't get the job done, right? You need that 20th agreement. So this is where, by setting it all up in this way, this is where we really get clear that anything we want to create comes down to creating agreements. And we have to have all the agreements that we need in order to create any reality or any outcome that we want.
Well, agreements, qualification systems, right? So if I say, for example, I know how to do something, say I want to do a project and I'm my strength is the development of it, not the marketing. But to cut a corner, I want to wear that marketing hat because I could do a basic graphic design or so, and then I'll just go with a mediocre quality on that. There's, the system has qualification parameters, even particular settings that would not allow that, or if it allows it, it would have that flag when someone else looks into it. Hey, we don't really have marketing taken care of here. We see here that you're not qualified for it or whatnot. So it's an HR tool.
Well, the way I see it is this. I think I'm glad you brought up this detail. I'm glad we're hitting like specific details to help you really like understand the discernment and the real, the ways that we handle a lot of these things. And what I'm going to share with you again, as always, is just like my leading thought in these areas for right now. But again, even you sharing that creates an opportunity for others to start chiming in and start saying like what the best way of handling that is. For me, the way that I see it is that nano action that we're seeking to fulfill is going to have a marketplace of buyers like myself and sellers that are going to, like you said, provide the service. Now, we're always going to be looking for sellers that are higher up on our tree, because if they can handle 20 nano actions rather than us having to find 20 people to do the, then that's great. They can just handle that part of it. So we're always going to be looking to have someone go higher and higher up on our tree of what they're willing to be responsible for, right? The thing is, again, that's going to create all kinds of metrics in the system on their performance, our satisfaction, the time frame, the budget, all the different things, all the different people that they contracted with. All of that will be, transparent for the reasons that we talked about before, because, we as consumers are going to want to know where our dollars are going and who they're flowing to, so that we can make sure that we're only supporting the world that we want to create. So you don't necessarily have to have experience like in some area. You can have such a stellar reputation that people know you're going to do whatever it takes to get the job done. So you could be doing this thing for the very first time, but people are letting you do it based on your reputation somewhere else, right? Like these are all the factors that we can tune into, right? Or it's your nephew that's doing it and he hasn't done this, but you're going to let him do it to create this result so he can go out in the marketplace and, now get paid for what he's doing. Whatever it is that it's happening within this open marketplace. And like you said, you get to turn the constraints. So you get to decide, I want this level of assurance that it's going to come to the quality that I want it to be, right? Within this time frame or within this dollar figure, right? And then again, whoever we choose, it's going to be, public knowledge how well they were able to meet that. So that's where the marketplace just sets itself, right? There'll just be a wide range of options in the marketplace, and people that are totally on top of their stuff and have a 95% or higher, rating are going to get paid twice as much or 3 times as much as somebody that's got a 40%, rating, right? So that's what and that's the beauty of this to me, is that it's a purely capitalistic marketplace. So it's really, anybody that's a capitalist, it's kind of hard to argue that this isn't a good way to do things. You know what I'm saying? Like it's very.
Does it do away with advertising?
For sure. Oh, does it do away? No, it doesn't do away with advertising. It just creates a different model because it's more about sponsorship than advertising, because it's more about the brands meeting their consumers in the areas that are most important to them and being engaged with them as a stakeholder and creating results together, right?
So in a way, you're turning the influence into, well, which already is. I guess you're scaling it. The influence. You're creating a macro. When I say you're doing this, first of all, it's like my attempt, right? And secondly, it's on top of everything else I said you're doing. Like I see just everything at once, right? So this is oh God, it just left me for giving you that warning. It's a macro economy of influence. Well, whereas right now we are operating on a large scale micro influence, fragmented influence economy. This is a consolidation of the influence and actually creating avenues for the influence to become currency in the larger scale, not in the direct scale between influencer and brands, but more into the mainstream marketplace and replace currency. So it's changing a perspective. It's transforming it's a perspective. Yeah, it's a huge transformation. I mean, I'm trying to keep up myself. But I want to add something just to go back a little bit before we disconnect too far from it. As far as this being your journey, I learned a while ago that, and there's a saying, there's a Sufi saying for this: what you seek is seeking you. Some variables to our stories, but very similar to the big picture. I would say parallel. you know, how we went about things and in what direction, what did we encompass for this big fire we're building, and what kind of wood we're bringing and how is really where we find our beautiful differences. But um, it's been following the same guidance system. It's just clearing out my life, living that period. Um, you know, making it a spiritual, ceremonial phase of my life. I still drive with a 7-foot staff that I have that I washed up on the beach 10 years ago. You know, I used to walk around Las Olas barefoot, crystals here, you know, like, you know, and what was being shown to me was that I was being cleaned even of that which I was living, that whole happy village life. You know, it was a very community life, you know, but it was just regrouping, leaving something to regroup as some, you know, into another entity, but in the same dynamics. And I felt like my purpose was beyond that, and I was being prepared, and that there was a cohesiveness, a linear cohesiveness to everything that was happening, and that the synchronicity wasn't just standalone synchronicities. It was a synchronicity painting a picture that I saw more and more, to the point that I got to the arrogant place of expecting it, you know, and assigning things value based on what I've seen. I know why I met you. I already know. I don't know if you know, but unless your no is bigger than my no, I know why I met you. In our case, I think we know exactly why we met each other. But most of the times, you find people in their purpose, in your purpose, within your purpose, that you know you're a part of their purpose, and you know exactly what it's for. And fast forwarding to the present, because let me rewind again. From the beginning, I knew what this meant. I came into 2013 in full knowledge that this was going to be a slow, steady walk, and that it was going to cost me the world. So, to thicken the plot a little bit, there's been a decline, a gradual decline, steady decline. I haven't felt it in my spirit, but the material world has been eroding from me in every sense of the word. You talk about an aspect of human life, and I'll tell you what's vanished from there. And I'm leaving the point of convergence. I don't know. I'm at the thinnest. I thought I was at the thinnest, but then it got fractal. I went in like it went. I went in the other way. I found more there. It was outside, inside. So, every happening in my life today, I left for the final time my ex's place. For the final time, there was a Thanksgiving parenthesis, and the last few days there was there was a very transparent, non-emotional agreement that, you know, this is it, dear high school sweetheart. This is it. This is it. So,
Wow, man. Wow, I can't even imagine that you've been dealing with that. Wow.
oh, it's yeah. Well, 2013, I was already 1 year separated from her to move alone and create a temple. I created a temple. I had a little dojo in the middle of nowhere. It came to my life through synchronicity. We were separated. And I began to liberate myself and get to know myself. And I received divorce papers in the mail in 2013. So my walk was already stamped with like, hey, here's for starters what you about to, the price you're about to pay for this. Here's a little teaser, right? I signed it, sent it back. So we've been officially divorced. But this is my high school sweetheart and I'm hers. So we've been under knowledge that we belong together, a mutual knowledge. Despite the happenings, we revisit and revisit, and we seem like, but then the Matrix comes back in full force, kicks the door in, and I'm reminded that vibrationally, it's something else, and she's also feeling the same. It's a mirror feeling. It's not a superiority over anyone. It's simply we're looking at each other eye to eye, and we understand that we might be a detriment to each other's frequencies moving forward. So, I'm in the center of the unknown right now, full of answers, helping people, giving my time, detaching enough so I can pick something up like this that can actually boost what I'm doing, because what I'm doing versus the current system is disappearing. I was running analog, I was running the right thing analog against the world running the wrong thing in fiber optics. See? But that's where faith comes in. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I have a brand new one in the the blue one. I got a brand new one in there. What? Look. Here you go. Next. So,
I like the last thing you said about you running an analog with the rest of the world running the other way in fiber optics. That's a great description, of what's been happening, and so thank goodness.
Yeah, because I was made, I was given revelations of let's call it operational revelations, to see so deep down the keyhole to know this shit doesn't work. This shit doesn't work. This is finite, and there's gonna be a spectacle collapse. I remember when Trump decided to, and I've never voted based on this knowledge. Certain areas came to me earlier. I did serve the military, but I never voted. When Trump came to power, I remember posting, "Let the spectacle begin. Let the festivities begin," because I already knew this is where the roller coaster is about to, because not so much the symbolism of him, because he's just a different brand of different. He wasn't morally inferior. It was more seeing where the collective consciousness had agreed to go. That being one of the highlight icons of it, of this transition, but many more: entertainment, artistic content, attention spans, everything that we've been losing. I saw that way early. I have writings from 2012 from a very obscure blog that I only left open for 2 years and closed it. I closed it in 2013. And I was writing, and then I went back recently. I'm like, my God, I was writing this. I was writing not this like this is what's gonna be there. More like this is where I'm walking to. I don't know what it looks like, but it's there. And this is what's happening in me. And I began documenting that on video. I began to carry with me a camera everywhere I went. Because I was in real-time acknowledgement, even though I was early in my path as far as self-realization, very early in my path, but the revelation was given to me of what the rest of the curriculum was. So I had a lot of clarity with closing the gap. I just had a hard time doing it. I had a clarity with seeing where to go, right? And it was, I had a problem undoing. Sometimes doing, thinking when I should have been undoing, just that trial and error of the spirit. But I knew that as I went along successfully, there would, the path would close in. And what I needed to find, I was literally playing chicken with the things I needed to find. Right? And along the way, it's like you start off as a leaf, and you merge into the branch, and you know you're gonna run into other branches, and you start getting more, thicker. Then you closer another thicker branch, and eventually you get to, the oneness. So perhaps you and I, from a theoretical point, made it to the roots, and everybody's coming. Okay? All right. So now it's the rise, which is rise of the Kundalini, whatever. It's all. I think it's all one explanation for everything. Externally, internally, as above, below. It's all fractal to me. But yeah. So I was told you would be there. I just didn't tell. I wasn't told it was you. I was told you would have something. I wasn't told what it was. And I was told that this particular instance, it's at the super macro level. That this is now I've reached the bottom. So I've reached the top, there's no more under, as far as the external world can see, like this now is building up is the task, not digging in, which could be symbolic to the what? We're done. Go out, because I've been a functional, I've been in a functional bout of silence in the terms of like I was forced out because I have a networking purpose or a purpose that gets fulfilled through networking. But my chakra was blocked. So even if I wanted to, I was blocked. I couldn't speak to you like this because so that was under control of my spiritual readiness. I wasn't even in control. I would be in groups and I was silent. I felt everything I would say was inadequate. It became a psychological thing, sending me right back. Shut your face. Shut your face. Don't say a word. So as that has been increasing, I get closer to things like this because I was gonna need it. So one thing certifies the next. So I get multiple confirmations at once, from different areas of different lenses of perspective. And usually when I can look through all the lenses of perspectives and get an approval, that's already, that's the indicator. But I had it in my spirit before I did the math in my head. I just felt it, once you feel, so it all, it all checks. And I believe that as I start to unfold some of what I've gathered and start unpacking some of these things, I believe it's going to fall in line, even the stages that I'm at with these people, early yet advanced. I'm early for something like this, but ready, primed to present it over years. So there's a meeting point again. There won't be a lot of manipulating to make things fit. I believe it's going to be a natural Tetris doing itself, just solving itself. We're the ones sending it. The computer's aligning it. But I do believe that in the blueprint, in the unintended blueprint that I've been leaving behind, there's a seamless connectivity to what you've been building. So at this point, my main focus is to start connecting those terminals. But my main focus doesn't have to be the main focus of us. Just like if you want to know, just connecting these terminals in a way that you would, lead me how you want to receive information, and and getting more into the details, seeing that I feel I understand the whole of it. And then some details are going to feed my understanding of the whole a little more. But first of all, your take on things should decide what I'm ready for, or what this conversation is ready for. And that's at all times. You know, I just don't want to hold back anything that I may think about this, especially, it's hopefully for the last time saying a thing,
Yeah, yeah, man. I totally appreciate all of that. I honor and appreciate all the alignments that you're seeing and feeling and the acknowledging of all of that. It's really special. I really get that. Somebody that walks in, um, as much as I can in synchronicities. Like I've been having a whole experience with the egrets here as I've been back in South Florida for the last week and a half. I actually I connected with the dolphins on Miami Beach the other day. I
Nice.
Yeah, I actually didn't think that I would. I doesn't there's a lot to it. I won't get into all of it now, but I used to live on the beach. I used to be on a 10-story apartment looking down over the ocean. And I got to the point where the dolphins trained me on the dolphin vibration. And I was getting to the point where if I could get my vibration into dolphin vibration, the dolphins would show up. And it was happening very regularly where I filmed a lot of it from my balcony out in the water. There was even a couple of times that I actually grabbed my boogie board and ran down and swam out into the water with the dolphins.
Wow.
One of the times had one of the dolphins swim right under me, actually surfaced.
Wow.
Yeah, surfaced like 20 yards in front of me and then surfaced like right behind me afterwards. Like, holy crap.
Wow. It's this so deep what you're saying when I run it through my head, because I had an opposite experience about 10 years ago. So as much as the harmony is symbolic of what it is symbolic of, that experience I had was the starting of my walk. And I guess I'm now putting it together as it was a reflection of my fear of healing. Because I was out, I started with the body. I used to weigh 250 pounds. I used to go from Hollywood, Hillcrest in Hollywood. It's just by Park and between Pembroke and Hollywood Boulevard. I used to take a bike to Oleta River Park on 163rd. I would rent a kayak and go out. It was 9.1 miles. I would go out for 3 hours, $18. Got to the middle of the opening, then come back. That was my upper body workout. I had the bike again. So it was a full day. And at the same time, it was connecting me with nature, because that was one of the things that switched on me was nature. I was divorced from nature prior to that. And one day I was out and I saw a fin. I was laid out in the kayak by myself and I saw a fin. And I thought it was a shark, brother. And I reacted like a cartoon. Like I literally, like the boat just came off the water, and then I just started rowing toward. There was a small island, like a small little tiny, not even an island, just a mound stood out. I parked that out, took my phone out of the Ziploc bag, and called their main office at Letter River. I said, "You guys need to come get your kayak because there's a shark in the water." This lady started laughing. Goes, "Sir, there's no sharks in this water. That's a dolphin. That's a dolphin. You just ran from a dolphin." I'm like, "Oh my God." Opposite. But it was proper for where I was at. Today, I would attract them. You know, before I might even attract them, but then I would run from them. Today, I receive it. So, it was I, part of this craziness is that I tie everything to my spiritual walk. Everything. If a toothpick falls on the ground, I don't even force the math. It just like somehow shows me that's what it is. So,
Yeah.
anyways, I went on a tangent.
No, it's great. I really appreciate you saying that because it's important that we know that we're both like that. You know, for me, one of the things that I've really tuned into over the last couple of years is sirens. I have sirens go off at the most synchronistic time all the time, like constantly whenever I'm thinking about things, like, and there's like a really important thought, like all of a sudden I'll hear a siren and like I'll know that like I need to write that down. Like there was a thought I was having about you as I was thinking about, you know, things I wanted to talk with you about. I had a certain thought and a bug buzzed in my ear right at that moment. And I wrote down that a bug buzzed in my ear so I would know that that was a thought that had a synchronistic sign associated with it.
Oh, so
So
we're gonna map synchronistic signs. Wow.
yes, that's definitely one of the things we're going to do for sure. Yeah.
Synchronicity meter.
Exactly. And when we start to teach people how to tune in, and that tuning in and having more synchronicities is a product of tuning in and walking the path and all of that, and having the app that, you know.
So are we gonna have synchronicity ratings?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's, you know, and also like, you know, like the actual probabilities, right? Because like that's what I have conversations with people about, is that the synchronicities that I experience are so statistically improbable that the number of times that I have so astronomically statistically improbable events happen is not statistically justifiable, right? Like there's like it's you cannot you know, it's that when
It's
something,
fleeting too fast. It's fleeting too fast, and we can't. We need to harness them.
yeah, when we really will from the app have the ability for people to demonstrate that the path that they're walking is way guided, you know, rather than like a statistical possibility. Like that's really an indicator that helps people know, you know.
This is so divergent and convergent at the same time that it doesn't matter what type of thought, brain map someone has. There's an avenue for them to understand it. You know, so you can grab anyone in a drum circle and say, "Hey, I got a synchronicity mapper for you." You can get an inventor and say, "Hey, I have a, you know, thought recorder. You know, no duplicates anymore." You know, so everyone has a reason, no matter what. Um, yeah, no, this is amazing. So you tell me what this is ready for, what phase. You know, I also have, I want to say this, I have people that I believe are ready to talk right now. You know,
Yeah.
certain people just based on me having a graphic idea of how their mind works and how they put it to work in their lives. You know, other versions of us, because that's, you know, to come full circle to something, you know, which is what is it that you bring? What is it that I bring? You know, what is it that you built this for? And you answered that earlier. You built it for, how did you build it objectively and unbiased? For what? For the collective. So what do you think I'm bringing you? I'm bringing you the collective because I'm bringing you at least 10 of me alone without tapping into 10 of me, 10 that I can't carry their network, but it's part of mine. I'm bringing you branches. I'm a branch. I'm bringing you branches. I'm the little branch. I'm the little leaf that could, but I have branches. You know, so I'm not any more special, other than what I've been spending my time doing. Like you, you know, we're not any more capable, any more disciplined. Discipline comes from inspiration. If you're not inspired, you can't discipline yourself. It's not behavioral mechanics. This is, you got to go to the core and plant something that's worth something, you know, and then that'll eventually, just like dealing with, you know, whether it's alcoholism or drugs or womanizing or whatever, or excessive consumption, whatever it is, can only be displaced. So that's the only thing we have that could temporarily be superior. Is the willpower to be the change that anyone can be, that anyone can really be at the same degree or better beyond. You know, we're always just infinitely growing. So I feel like I'm an individual player, and I bring you a branch, and I bring you a branch attached to another branch. I bring you enough to touch the trunk, and I myself, as a little leaf, can transport myself to the root. But I'm an ant, you know. I'm an ant. You know, I even thought I did, first ant could be like, first ants, like production, something where like we're the first to adopt the what they what the innate order and put it on the things we touch. And ants do that better than all of us, better than the whole earth. So, first ants, in the term of the thought system. But that's I'm seeing it, brother, and it's ever expansive. It's ever expansive, and the only risk here is me going overboard.
Good. I really appreciate you sharing that, and we'll take that risk. I don't see that as being a terrible risk.
Yeah, and I'll say this too. What my reliability is also something that I don't choose mechanically. My reliability is based on if I feel that the faith that I've been walking with can be extended to something, extended into it as it extends its faith into me. I don't need to. That's not even a conversation of believing. It's just like a happening to happen. Like, did the sun come out? Yep. It's daytime. That simple. I need to think it through, or circumstantial. Oh, we had a hard month. You still believe? Of course. This is coming from. I mean, if I believe in myself after 10 years of I slept in the streets, brother. I've been in jail. I've I've got the daughters that I haven't met enough. I've been paying a big price. Public shame with a smile because I know the observers watching the observer observe. So I kind of that faith has given me a lot of confidence in my wings. So I never walk small, but I think I walk a little more silent because it's everything so counter current. So when I find something that's counter current, I see it as current. It's the actual. The picture is the negative is the picture for me, the other side of it. So, um, yeah, this is prophetic to me. This is professional to me. This is revolutionary. This is um, facilitating to the collective. So it's an honor, and also uh, I guess I'm learning now that I was supposed to couple with something so I could find my full force of eruption, because that's something I've been dealing with. I've had been constipated. I'm like a constipated dragon. What here cannot hold what's this is sending to do whatever with it. Go to Spanish market, to the English market. Spanish is my first language, so it's like actually use it for a purpose. And there's nothing I've been involved, not even music. I went and recorded music, and I didn't even share it. Professional recorded. I didn't even share it to I didn't tell anyone because even that wasn't strong enough for me to come out. It's like something needs to come pull me out. It better be big because I can't continue without this. This is gonna be crazy, because it's gonna be a madman making sense in a way. I'm gonna release myself once I face the public a few notches. I'm gonna release myself a few notches from this, and be a little more, more order and more chaos at the same time. you know,
yeah.
and use it as the next manifestation of my exercise of transparency. So I've been holding thoughts just like you that could fix the world, that were proven to me. My life has been a recurring journey recurring in certain ways. It's recurring while moving forward, kind of like replanting certain confirmations of how to operate in the energy field primarily. Then my curiosity became, if the energy field is so real, and the spiritual is so real, and this is so real, this material world is so real, the fuck is this gap? You know, what is this gap? Why am I not here? Right? I don't want to be here spiritually and be so high up there, but I don't have a clue of how do the realities connect. And quantum mechanics gave me that curiosity. Quantum mechanics gave me hope, that curiosity. Certain analysis that I heard, that I listened to many years ago, probably 10 years ago, analysis of interpretations of quantum mechanics, because I noticed that in my heavy hunger for research, I found out that there was kind of like a dead end when it came to quantum mechanics. Like popular science did not want to, and I don't mean the magazine, I mean just, pop science did not want to dive into it because I guess they were risking running into something spiritual. And I heard several interpretations that fell right in line with my mind. Right, so quantum mechanics, Holy Spirit, as a man thinketh, The Secret, reality creation, one thought. And then I started with a spoon of that thought, eventually got a shovel, eventually got, eventually, and giving up, like it was so reinforcing that even my depression stage was entertaining. That's how reinforcing it was. It was so far from reality for me to see this vision that I was fed little nuggets, because it was separated enough for me to drift. It was too far out, and too many offers were coming with me along the way. A lot of immediate stuff that would have taken me forever away. Some of my village community friends saying, "Hey, we got some land in Costa Rica. Why don't you come over?" I'm like, maybe not. Maybe I'm meant to be in the darkest part. I'm supposed to get the light as I can in the darkest part, rather than go fluff myself with someone, and fluff each other. What are we doing? What are we doing for the rest? What are we doing for ourselves inwards? What are we doing outwards? Oh, this is just church again. I don't need this. This is just church. This guy's his nature and whatever. So I had to deal with the dissonance from what I left, the dissonance from what I found, until atmospheres became a non-thing for me. And that was just a narrow walk. There was no atmosphere for me to be in, no settled place, no common place. My life became more nomadic, either by force or by choice. Disconnecting, so waiting for something real to grasp. Just disconnecting against popular opinion, against my immediate popular opinion, against mentors. I've walked away from mentors that today are still worth $30 million. While I'm connecting yesterday with today and today with tomorrow, And these guys, I walked away with a high face. Ooh, you're not for me. Not where I'm looking. Maybe where you're looking with your, corporate blockheads wanted to just make me a corporate savage to go out there and run their worlds. And, my situation at that time was scarce enough for me to jump on something like that. People that had instant solutions to my material situations. It's like, nope, more than once. And I didn't know what I was putting it down for. I just knew that wasn't it. Even though it looked very much like it. And all my family members do say, "Hey, that's it for you." No, that's not it. You don't know what's it. I'll take my losses, whatever they are. But I'll take my gains when they come. And that level of certainty, it's like I've almost like looking inside, especially the early years, I could have been, look at this fool, this guy really thinks, he really thinks. And I was like, whatever world. I was given that confidence, like every compensating factor for this long ass journey was given to me. You know, the empathy to learn how to give. So I didn't have to force myself because I needed to begin to give, release myself. So I was given empathy. I was given the clairvoyance to see distant. So I, you know, but still didn't make me nearsighted. I was able now to see, see the picture instantly, like flashes of the big picture, you know, milestones where would identify themselves approaching me. What I learned to do was narrow my lane because I didn't have to be all over the place looking. Wherever I was looking, it would show up. Here would show up. Here would show up. So I said, okay, maybe if I just walk, it shows up. This is my ego searching and pulling levers and turning knobs. I didn't have to do anything but continue to do the work that does the work. Right. You know, and I've sat with people that have taken aura pictures of me. I've sat with card readers. I've sat with fortune tellers. I've sat with psychics. You know, Hindu masters. I am the most mystic person I know. In terms of application, in terms of I believe in this enough to throw it into the earth, throw it into the ether, not to keep it as knowledge. In that sense, you know, I go meet the guys that have spiritual uniforms and stuff, you know, and all these, you know, spiritual imagery, but they're still functioning inside of a system. These coaches, come on, I'll show you the light. 99.99. I'm like, I'm not one of those. I can't be one of those. I can't come out as long as that's there. As long as this is what I can't use that stage where I mandatorily need to benefit from people's problems. That's not for me. So I guess I have to keep getting ready. And I saw guys that, you know, began walking along the same timeline as I did, and 3 years into it, these guys are putting out flyers and being masters and this and that. I'm like, man, we're not even starting. You know, what is all this arriving to what? You know, you're arriving because you find a seat in the system that seems far enough to be spiritual, but it's still in the system. I want to arrive. I want to arrive as we are, and the extensions of us that belong. So your work as an extension of us belongs. And then another indicator is that one thing would be able to fit all things. And so far, it doesn't happen. You know, that, you know, just basic common sense. The thing that I have to stop for and put all things down and kind of like start thinking about, this is it. That thing will have to be able to fit all things. If not, I got to create that thing that fits all things. And I didn't know where to start. I figured the path will take me there, but then again, what you seek is seeking you. So, you know, this is all very conventional for me to think like this. Very, very first option of thought. I don't philosophize myself into it. You know, probably like you, it's become instinctive, and I translate it into the matrix. But it's 100. You know, every day I'm making it more and more organic to the spirit. And the temptation of a loss comes along, and I'm like, let it go. It can go, you know, because at this point, you know, so this represents a pinnacle, a marking point. You know, in many ways, the end of something, more in a selfish perspective, in the collective, the beginning of something. You know, and the reason why I never formalized myself into any type of things they offered me to become a master at this and a great at that and this and that and certified in this is because I just wanted to show up at my highest looking like the common man. You know, I wanted to enter my highest stage with all the natural happenings of a common man, not eliminating anything significant for me on my creativity, my relationship with money, how I see it. I don't want to see it the way others see it. Uh, Lifestyles, all these things have to be intact because I am that I am. So nothing, I'm not building myself around anything. I'm building myself. And then what's there will matter. What doesn't matter won't be there, like that sense of the word. So this is exciting. And also, somebody that actually has an incentive, like by speaking to you, to hear all this boring shit that I've been carrying around for a long time, to let it out. And perhaps a lot of my authenticity has been held back because my context has been held back. This is a boost of confidence. Oh, I don't need to translate this much. Look, I'm talking to someone that's talking to me, and we're there. He's there for his there, and I'm in my there, and we're there, and we're it's perfect. And this is replicable. Wow. That liberates a lot, a lot of invisible stuff comes undone. So that's why I'm excited. And this is public, I guess, to some extent. So I'm excited about the synchronicity put me where I thought I needed to put myself. I watch YouTube videos on how to come out on YouTube. Meditations on releasing, because I know that it's instant the moment I open my mouth. And that's why the block is so big. I know it's instant. And this was before all this. Now I'm like, okay, now hold it. Because now it's the natural pressure is happening, taking me there. Now I can see the pressure. I'm not getting hit from the back. Now it's more like it's gradual. It's this little cart taking me there, giving me time for the final touches, and you want to wipe my teeth a little bit. And give and honor synchronicity, not say I did it. Even because the temptation of the ego is that the wider or the narrower, depends how you look at it, the path gets, the more the ego says, well, now it's time to touch it and move it. Because now this is what I got to trust the most. I didn't build it. I don't hold it together. I'm just there, showing up in the moment, now, here, now. What else? That's it. And then whatever I carry, skill sets, visions, purpose, intention. So it's a sense of closure to arrive to this point, which explains itself very well what it means, even in my walk, let alone humanity. It's a great feeling to come full circle and allow every step of the way to be synchronicity. And now everything turns like a sock, turning it inside out. Now we're there. We're grabbing the bottom. Now we just, turn it out. And at no point it was me. So at any time, the temptation for me to take credit for things kept getting knocked off. That happened. That I could see that synchronicity of that. My trophy shelf kept getting, even all the documentation that I took on video. I had over 100 hours of myself making a beautiful masterpiece of real-time documentation of self-evolution. In other words, I know I'm messed up, but I can see it from my higher self that it's enough at least to make me record it. Because it's, just grab a camera for now. That's your higher self for now. You know what I mean? So I did that. And that, I lost that. I lost that hard drive. Oof, so all my trophies, because it wasn't going to be the way I thought. I thought I was going to come out with a documentary that was going to change the world of me going back with my own content exclusively, just piecing it together so people could see, look, this is linear. While it's not, this happens, but you can't be looking at a line. You got to be looking everywhere. Kind of like I was going to map it for one person, visually. And I lost that because I thought I was going to arrive somewhere that would allow me the time to then do all these egotistical things. But it was really that I was going to arrive to a beginning and I had to bring nothing. Literally nothing. Like I might spend a few days with my native friends over in the west coast of Florida. Just crashing the acres, you know, Wi-Fi, and just work from there. Detachment, extreme. Even the last week and a half that I spent at the apartment at my ex's, without counting sleeping time, 93% of my time was spent outside of the porch working. That's my life where I go. I take an Airbnb, I go outside. I'm like conditioning. I'm sensitive to the things that people are used to. The conditioning of the air, all these things are sensitive to. Content and movies and music, I'm sensitive. Like I literally feel, you know, dings in my spirit when I hear certain things. You know, if right now something falls close to you but doesn't hit you, I might feel something in the part of the body that you would have gotten hit even if you didn't get hit. Just the visual of it. Boxing match, like literally, you know. So that, I think that gives me extra adrenaline watching boxing, because I'm literally, my empathy is bizarrely high. It's physical, you know. So I know that if I would have spoken about these things, if I would have detected these things early in my life and talked about them, it would have been medications for me, you know. Medicate this kid. You know, we got a live one here. Medicate him. But I came to a crash in life, and it was like a piñata. I was swinging a bat, and it all fell, and it was just me sitting with it to figure it out while I was walking. Just getting that out of the way, because no matter how far this goes, it can never escape the rope to the spiritual, as with you. That's the truest validation of anything I do, really. Anything I get involved in. So, you know, and I'm playing the role as we speak. You know, I'm a part of one foundation. I'm a part of another foundation. This one does not have a center. This one has a center in Miami Lakes. This one without a center just got $10,000 from McDonald's, the Golden Grants. They need a place to do their press conference with the big check and everything. Well, I'm taking it to the one I have with the center. And now McDonald's is like, oh, how can I help them now too, you know? And we brought another nonprofit. From my experience, that's always been competition, to do something that would be competitive in nature. It's not. It's sharing. It's co-creating. It's benefiting equally while splitting. It's like splitting. It's like violating. You know, 2 1 plus 1 is 3. Split something in half, and you both get more than one. Wow. You know. So, all these. My business life, my entrepreneur life has been the testing ground for the last 10 years of my spiritual beliefs made practical. Turn the other cheek. How do I do that in business? You know, well, every big business is going to have accounts receivable. Somebody doesn't pay you now, that means my accounts receivable account is growing now. I'm so big, people owe money. So let me look at that as part of the big picture, you know, rather than focusing on something, I take that something and put it into the bigger picture of positivity. So I'm able to turn the other cheek. I'm able to give before I receive. How in the world am I going to do that as a business? The definition of a business is get, go get, you know? So how are we going to square that circle? Well, slowly, very carefully, you know, patiently. And then where my spiritual walk comes in is because if I'm really walking, I'm detaching from self-preservation, not self-love. I'm getting closer to self-love, but less self-preservation, less immediate gratification. These things, what do? They come back to give me patience. So I've mapped that thought, you know, I sketched it, you know, of cause and effect of choices, gratitude, practical, forgiveness, you know, all these things. Forgiveness. What's forgiveness to the world is I acknowledge you did something, and as a superior person, I'm gonna forgive that. But I know what you did. That's not forgiveness to me. That's the world's definition. Forgiveness to me is I don't I can't even compute what happened. It's so gone. It's in the past. It's not even. It's not real. We move on. Nothing ever happened. When we do that, imagine how much technology there is in that behavioral technology, you know, bypassing a lot of loops. So I wanted to believe something that was real, and what I was learning to believe and understand seemed real enough. But I didn't. I wasn't gonna see it in action, except only if I went to a monk's temple in Thailand or some monastery or somewhere, you know, somewhere I would find these people, but they're not integrated into society, so they don't count. Where's that hybrid? Where is that hybrid operating from the right place, in the right place? Yeah. In the dimension I'm in, this three-dimensional, is the right place to operate, not to seclude and enjoy my own little spiral rise. Is instigate the collective rise. The same itch you have, right? So yeah, so this is ground zero. What do we do?
Well, first of all, man, let me just acknowledge you again and thank you so much for sharing all of that, sharing all of your path, and really, you know, grounding whatever we're going to create together from this deep and wide foundation that you have that you're sharing with me. You know, I really honor and appreciate the path, the journey, all the experiences, like you're sharing all the ways that you've been building to something, and the fact that you know, recognize on so many levels and the synchronicities that, you know, the past has gotten. Yeah.
You gave me an idea, a marketing idea, because earlier I was thinking that this is not going to be an elevator pitch. This has to be visual animation presentation of this thing functioning, you know. But now you made me think of like a kind of like if we had to visualize how this is happening right now, which is more orientational than functional. I feel like you've built something that has a huge diameter with infinite doors. And we're walking this hall that goes past all the doors. All the doors go in to the same place. But it only works if you come into that door for you. You know, like it's, and every door you showed me, you've enlightened me with, I have a terminal to connect it with. Whether it's a thought level or classification or an actual thing, you know, an actual subject to put into it. So the naturality is almost like is synchronicity. I guess we're just spending more time in the impressionability stage of it because it's a synchronicity of synchronicities. It's bigger than the one we're used to. But even though it's a single person, just our worlds, the collision of our worlds is the biggest synchronicity ever. So, or the overlap or the overmapping of our worlds, one, you know, juxtaposition is an event that we're a part of. It's an event horizon. So, you know, what do you say in this position? What do we say? Whatever I say is what you say. What, you know, what do we say in this position? We just simply look at each other and say, you know, chop wood, carry water. What else, you know?
Yeah, you know, again, it's so perfect, all that you're sharing and how it's all coming together. And what the things that I've thought about in terms of like how we take steps intentionally from here, you and I, is one, I want to go through some mapping that I've done of like ways that Uniting for Action is providing value for the world. Because as you're sharing, you and I are about to be in a conversation with the rest of the world, right? And I want to share with you some of how I'm seeing that conversation and some of the priorities in terms of how we're going to roll things out so that you can figure out, again, what role you want to play in each of these priorities. Like what's like, hey, I want to get this part done. I've got somebody for this, let me have a conversation with somebody about this. Let's talk about this and this is what we're about to do. And part of what we're going to do today as well, I'm going to show you some of the exercises I've done with others with thought maps, including a great one I just did the other day. And you and I are going to start to do that right now with some things that you want to thought map, because I want to take a little more of the theory out of all of this and let it be a lot more practical, and let you start to really even be able to use, the video of us together and what we're doing to send to certain people. And you're like, you'll ask a certain question because you're thinking of a certain person, and then you're going to send the answer to them, and start to get like really intentional about these specific,
mapping the road.
yeah, these specific people that we're going to start to bring in. Because again, that's that. I'll just leave it at that we've got approximately an hour and 10 minutes or however much time you have, before you've got to start getting ready for your next meeting. That the things that I want to accomplish today are getting into a bit more specifics of the interchange that I've been figuring out how to have this conversation with, generally with people about, like, this is what Uniting for Action represents for you in this moment, right? And then seeing how they respond to know, like, how much time and attention we devote to that relationship right now, right? That's essentially what's happening right now, is you and I individually and both collectively are working on figuring out the best uses of our time and energy around what we see as the priorities right now, right? And I want to share with you, some of the priorities around Uniting for Action around my world. I want you to share with me some of the priorities, around your world and what we're going to talk about in your thought maps. That's the most, important things for you to share in this moment. And we're going to start to, see how you and I are going to be in a flow together, like in terms of together time like this, like we are, and how much we're going to be, doing the in-between stuff that there is to get done in terms of reaching out to other people or making videos or whatever it is that furthers the game, right? And the one thing that I want to share in this that I was thinking as you were talking about before is, it's so perfect as you've shared this kind of wiping away that's been happening for you, because what this is for you is, it is an entirely new game than the game that you've been playing, right?
So etch a sketch.
There's exactly, and in many ways it's kind of like you've been within the bounds of this board game that, like, the whole world is bound inside of. It's our existing societal systems, and we've been trying to figure out how to play the game within this crazy game that you and I and others know we need to get out of, right? But there hasn't been another game that we could take up. There hasn't been another game to play.
Oh, can I add to that? I have accounts with every platform. When I try to create a profile, I'm like, it's impossible. They don't know how to read me. Discord, Clubhouse, Spotify. Like, I just, none of this allows me to grasp what I have. It's like, they're gonna get 10% of me, because it's all limited. It's all limited to what I can do with my face, my mouth. It's not giving me the ability to show as I wanted to be a show person. I wanted to show, and I said, and this is what changed my mind. And I think this is historical, so we got to kill it after this. But what changed my mind about what I thought.
You want me to pause the recording? Is there something that you want to say?
No. Okay. No, I'm saying you're trying to stay away from the theoretical, but this is theoretical. But in a way, it explains the mapping in my mind, because, I'll just say two things. The first thing is, when it comes to beginnings, I was familiarized to micro beginnings, one of my favorite verses in rap is this is a new beginning. I'm climbing out of the other one, you know. So I can see it. I can see it for what it is. I can definitely see it for what it is. The other thing I forgot, so we'll leave it.
Yeah, what I was saying is that in this new game that I'm laying out for you with all these new playing pieces and all these new mechanisms and the connector and the system and the thought maps and all of these different ways that we can now start to communicate and create with each other and collaborate with each other and all of that. It's a whole new game that we are creating and that we're bringing into the world, right? And how this starts to roll out, how this game starts to roll out is, like I shared with you, as far as your role is concerned, is whatever you can wrap your arms around and effectively keep going with, right?
I'm that guy.
Because this whole system, as you see, it's all a meritocracy, right? It's all just based on what we're getting done and our rating with what we're getting done and all of that sort of stuff, right? So as you're the first person showing up and you're not competing against anybody for anything, what you create is it, right? And then as other people start showing up and as other people can handle other parts, you know, better than you, they have more qualification, whatever, you're like, great, I shared that thought, now it's going where it needs to go, now let me turn to this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's a significant event, really, what's happening.
Exactly.
Responsibility.
Exactly. There's infinite possibility right now in what you declare is going to be happening coming from you. You're like, you can say, like, just as an example, to go like on a really like big example, like I've shared just a little bit about the influencer army, but enough for you to get what the power of that is, right? So like, for example, if you felt like you are in a position where you could say, you know what, Jared, with all these things there is to focus on, I can take the influencer army and I can make this whole vision happen. I can be the person that the world is going to know as the creator of the influencer army. I'm going to start to do what needs to get done to start making this happen, right? And you can start to own that part of this whole thing, and that can be your part. Or you can say, you know what, we need somebody, I have somebody else in mind for that, because I want to be in a bigger position where not only am I helping, you know, in the influencer army, but also the system and also the commerce and also this. So again, it's whatever you are capably able to continue to keep the balls in the air, whatever you're able to demonstrate that you are qualified to continue to be in that role of responsibility, you get to be in. Do you get what I'm saying? Like you get to create this as you can envision, and it's only bounded by your imagination and your evaluation of what you think you're capable of and are willing to put yourself out for, right? Because again, whatever you declare you're going to get done, you're declaring in front of the world, and whatever you create in terms of results, you get to own, and whatever, you know, shortcomings come up, you get to own as well. We're all being in this, you know, exploration of creating the best we can, not that we're perfect and not that we're not going to fail, because this, like, I am so clear with all of the ways that, like you've shared, it's not so much failure as trying one way that wasn't optimal, suboptimal way, right? A lesson we learned.
Yeah.
And
Well, we've been in uncharted grounds for respectively. So, you know, we only have our own trial and errors to go by.
Exactly.
This is not a herd event. You know, this is just individual path.
Exactly. As we're still in this mode where however we're going forward is, you know, coming from us, then we're going to be like in a wandering way. And that's part of the real power of the crowd, right? Leveraging the power of the collective is that the more data points we have, the closer we get to optimal, right? The more data points we have, the more, you know, the more ways we can change factors and influence and all that. I'm going down a little bit of a rabbit hole. I just want to pull out to kind of answer your question in terms of where we go, like right now. like you and I are going to spend a little bit of time, we're going to take a little break right here, and then we're going to spend a little bit of time going through these like channels that I'm seeing. And I want to be really clear with people about in terms of ways that Uniting for Action can be meaningful in their lives right now, and kind of the filtering mechanism that we're using of seeing what people's responses are, because there's a lot of responses that we're going to get that are going to let us know that you and I should not be spending, personal one-on-one time with those people, that they're in a place that we'll get to them later when we have more automated ways of sharing information, when we have other people that can have more in-depth conversations with them. Like right now, we're focusing on, important and urgent, right? And that's one of the things that you and I are going to kind of come into alignment on, is this sense of urgency, which for me is driven by what's happening in the world, right? Like every day that goes by, not only are we destroying more and more of our world, but we're actually accelerating it, right? We're getting closer and closer to the end every day. And whatever end that looks like keeps getting closer to us because we keep accelerating, right? So again, I feel that, and I feel it in a way that you described, when you talked about boxing and feeling boxing, I watch a tree getting cut down and I am in excruciating pain, thinking about how many decades that tree has been growing, to be what it has become, and that this chainsaw is just wiping it out in front of my eyes, and to me that it only gets amplified. It only gets amplified when I'm knowing that the entire Amazon rainforest is being threatened, that coral reefs are being, wiped off the face of the planet, that, all kinds of whales and bears and all these different species are dying en masse because their bellies are filled with plastic and the plastics are blocking their intestines. And, we're wiping out the entire species of whales, and we're not even being cognizant that this is what we're going to be witnessing in the coming years and decades, that they, they're just
even insects are disappearing.
The bees are heavily threatened, all kinds of different stuff. So again, every day when you talk about, inspiration and dedication and waking up, I wake up every day doing everything I can to save as many people, as many animals, as many ecosystems as possible, as quickly as I can before they die, because that's what I'm witnessing, right now. And I want to stop the massacre that's happening in front of me. So everything that you're seeing is how can I use my, engineering brain, my programming mind, my creativity, my everything to come up with a solution to that has a shot in hell of working in time for it to work, right? And so that's what this is ultimately, and that's what we're all buying into. It's not that Jared has come up with a great way, it's that Jared is showing us a way that we can go with a great starting point, and now we all get to start collectively moving ourselves in a direction of transitioning ourselves to regeneration as quickly as possible while we still have time, right? That's what this is about. And there's all sorts of uses of Uniting for Action that don't require agreement with that. People can use it to build a business, and they can use it to make money, and they can use it all kinds of ways for very self-interested sort of ways. And that's perfectly fine that people will be doing that. It's just that at this moment in time, like you're saying, the people for us to focus on right now are the people that are already in energetic alignment, the 10 of us that the people that are already there and will jump into this conversation. And for us to be working together to look at and work on this priority list and be getting through it as quickly as we can. Right. So that very, very quickly, in the coming weeks, we're talking with very, big influencers, very big corporations, very big, very big, everything that is going to allow us to launch on the scale that is an overnight thing, basically, right? Because this will be an overnight thing as soon as we are ready to handle that sort of attention. It's going to be a 60-minute story, a biggest story for weeks, months, as the whole world is starting to organize around this, right? But we need to start to build the infrastructure to be able to manage that conversation at all, right? Like we could literally get a story on the news that could go viral overnight, but what's that going to do for us tomorrow when the phone is ringing off the hook and the emails are coming in and we have no way of taking all of that and turning it into anything? You get what I'm saying? Like, so this is the moment for us to build the support system that's going to allow us to do that. So again, like I shared, let's take a short break now so we can do kind of a shift of the energy. I want to like get into the system and start to focus on things that are important to you, and then to start to focus on, you know, who we're going to talk to first and about what and why and how we're going to start to bring all the pieces in to start to realize this in a collective way. So how does that sound?
Sounds great. Sounds perfect.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. So tell me your hard stop time so that I know when we have to absolutely be done by and I can pace ourselves in that way.
5:30.
5:30
for a 6 o'clock call. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought we had until 6. So, okay. So we
I'm sorry. 6:30.
Oh, 6:30. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
My call's at 7.
Okay. Got it. That's great. That's a big
Well, I
difference.
don't know what time is it now.
It's 5:05.
Okay.
So that's good. That gives us a good amount of time to get into a few more things. So let's take a 5-minute break now. I'm going to get some more tea. We're going to shake up our energy. I'm going to smoke so that I can go deeper with you on things that you're going to share with me. You know, I mentioned I smoke, but it's been a really, really important tool for me to be able to go into the infinite sea of possibilities. It's so like every day it's an integral part of my journeying and all of this. Like when I'm not smoking, I am able to remember all the stuff that I was thinking of and talking about and all of that sort of stuff. But it's not until I smoke that I'm able to be in that world again, to drop into the spirit zone, the spirit realm, and to be operating from that infinite sea of possibilities. That's my access. So for many, many years, I've been looking for all kinds of other ways to access it, but I have yet to find anything that's as efficient and as effective as smoking, and instantly I am dropped into the zone.
I think we're the same in that nature as well.
Yeah, so we'll get a tea, have a smoke, and we'll come back in 5 minutes and we will go even deeper.
Sounds good, brother. Sounds good.
All right.
Be
Cool.
right back. See you in a few. All right.
All right, so we are back. So we're gonna dive into talking about your thought map and starting to map it out. And I want to lead into that by again kind of sharing how my conversations are going with people now and what they're looking like. As a matter of fact, let me just show you really quickly this conversation that I had with Chia. Do you know Chia Ortegon?
I've met Chia Ortegon twice, so I know her well by who she is. We haven't encountered each other. I believe Melina sent me something from her recent posting or something.
Okay,
Beautiful
cool.
soul.
Cool. So Chia was one of my main creative collaborators back when I was creating events. Like I'm going to show you. Let me even show you this event. Hold on a second. That'll kind of. I was just pulling up. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going back into my vaults and I'm pulling out all the old stuff that some of the stuff I didn't even ever publish before, like I'm about to show you. Let me share the screen. Like, what I'm doing is, actually, let me stop sharing so I can explain what I'm doing. As I shared with you before, I am making sure that I'm honoring all of the people from the past that have been a part of Energetic Planet and Higher Vibe Life and Uniting for Action. And I'm really making sure that I express to everyone that all that I am, all that's getting created has come from a collective effort that they've been a part of. And
Let me stop you, brother. That's
Yeah.
a byproduct. That's not a mission. That's a
What's that?
byproduct.
What's that?
That will be a byproduct of the mission.
What will be?
Acknowledgement will be a
No,
byproduct, unintentional.
Absolutely, absolutely. What I'm sharing, actually, to be more specific, so you get like where I'm at with all of this. Let me pull up a couple things because I want to keep creating. I want to keep showing you the context so you know where everything lives. So as I'm sharing this, let me pull up the ramp up plan because I want to show you in the ramp up plan where everything fits together, because those are the priorities organizationally right now in terms of how we're ramping up and what's coming before what and all of that. So let me share that first, and then I'll share these other parts of where I've been going with people. This was an old video that I just pulled up for the first time. This was never published before. I'm going to show you that in a little bit. But let me go first to one of these pages. So the ramp up plan, as I'm bringing it up just to kind of remind you, is, and share with everyone, is the plan of, for right now, how I see us rolling out, ramping up, rolling out as quickly as possible based on just expectations of programming is one of the main things. And I shared with you before, and I'll share again just to reiterate. My target right now is for us to have an alpha launch within, I would say, 2 to 3 months at the latest. It's entirely possible we can have it done quicker. It's just really a matter of how quickly the right people show up to manage the.
Well, I'll be at the United Nations in 3 months.
Nice. So there's definitely some things
with over 1,500 students twice, 1,500 and then 1,500 more.
It's amazing, man. It's
from all over the world.
I'm so grateful for all the threads that are going to be woven in, and for so many that you're going to be bringing. It's freaking amazing.
And I'm seeing right here the Colombian Mountain Retreat, Santa Marta.
Yeah,
I just received the whole presentation deck for a retreat in Santa Marta.
That's really awesome. This is
last week, a week and a half ago.
This is what Chia and I were talking about the other day, just to show you since it's here. So what I did, if I go down, here's the unedited conversation. So we had a whole conversation, 1.5-hour video, similar to you and I talking. She and I, let me go, since I'm talking about it now, bring up this video. So this is a video from the Divine Feminine Expressions event that I created back in 2012, I think it is. Yeah.
That's the Art of Music Development Studio. I was a partner there.
I was thinking before that I know you and I have connected before.
That's my mentor with the red shirt.
The
bald guy walking. I don't know. Maybe no, it's not him. Tall, bald guy. The tall, bald black guy is my mentor. Joseph Sherman Bauman. I have his belongings. I keep in touch with him.
The guy who created this. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Joseph. It was Joseph Bauman, Evelyn Valen, and myself. I gave it the name.
That's really amazing.
Me and 6 Rastas closed off the windows and built that stage high as a kite.
So what are the chances that this would be like the first thing that I'm showing you?
You know, that was at
That's
the Sound
crazy.
Healing Orchestra. Was that the Sound Healing Orchestra?
What's that? No, that was
that
not. No, this event. So this was the Goddess Expressions event that I created. Let me show you. I'll show you this other video.
Wow.
Yeah,
I have a video of the build out of that place.
That's so crazy that we share. Well,
no, this is ultra confirmation,
and then
because that was my true dojo with a mentor. I've had a chain of mentors, and that was the mentor that had a space for me. Every other mentor has been remote or, you know, just like connected, but this was my oversight mentor to this day. We made a video the other day because his health is ailing. I made a long interview of him. That's coming back as Stars Outreach. That exact entity is coming back into the mix.
This is blowing my mind right now, man.
Because that's his life project that I inherited. That's part of something bigger. I can't even go in. That's a rabbit hole that we could spend a whole hour in that rabbit hole. So significant in my life.
Yeah, I miss Joseph. We had a great connection when I created that event. We just connected for like a really brief time for a couple months around that, because it came together really quickly. That was a follow-on event to the Yin Yang party that I created in the convention center that I had mentioned to you, that I used after Jeff was done with the Chi Revolution. Then I got the convention center and I had a big event, which was really amazing. That was what I shared, you know, when some of the women came up to me afterwards and shared that, you know, they'd never been on a stage like that in front of people. The one woman I told you became a singer after that, from that event. So, and
you know, and that I was able to back up the content from that space before I lost my hard drive. So I may very well have content of that. I have a lot of content from there.
That's really so crazy. What I was sharing with you from here, you know, is that, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not actually sharing. Pull it back up. I'm not seeing what I'm seeing. There you go. So
this is insane.
It is insane that I showed you this. This is what I pulled up. So you know, it was the Goddess Expression. Oh, I forgot for a moment what I was sharing with you there. Let me go back to it. So this page, this Reengineering Society page, I was showing you some last time. This is where I have like all the old energetic planet stuff, that video that I showed you last time, the postcard. It's all on this page as kind of like a history, and I'm going to move all of this and even so much more detail, like these videos, like I'm showing you, that video I'm showing you, it's never been posted anywhere before. And so I'm pulling these out and I'm going to post them and make all of these the building blocks, this event, all these events, the building blocks that what's coming out today were founded upon. And I'm going and finding all the video and photos and reaching out to all these people and inviting them to own our past history through these events and use what I'm sharing to have thought paths into what they're up to now and what they want the world to know about, and just kind of naturally provide this as the stage for everyone that helped co-create this stage that's getting built, basically. So that's what I'm doing. This is Chia here taking pictures at one of the first events, one of the first things that we did together. And then from here, Chia this was the Yin Yang party. So this is where, again, some of these women had never been up on a stage, you know, embodying a goddess in front of the community. That was like a huge thing, as well as, again, like singing and all of that. So it just really had me realize that part of what I really loved, and I actually share it in this video. I actually want to give you the intro video for this, because this intro video really tells it really well. So this is Paloma, who I mentioned. I think you said you had heard of her, but didn't really know her. Am I remembering correctly?
What's her name?
Paloma Devi, who used to sing it. who used to
Yes.
sing in Soul Temple years ago, but I don't know if you were tuned in back then. And then she was in the Guru Ganesha band. And then I won't get into all the history, but I want to share with you just a little bit of this so you can get, again, what was getting created here, because all of this is what I am tapping back into, basically, right? I'm now reaching out to these very people, inviting them to own these moments that they created with me before, like this other one that I pulled this up. This has never been published. So this was again from 2012. This is March of 2012. And actually listen to what I'm sharing right in this part of the video. We have a lot of events that we experience together. We get to have that shared experience together, which is really beautiful. But it's not very often at all that we come together in a mastermind planning, meeting, almost business type of approach of how do we really come together collectively, organizationally, to make some things happen. And this is part of why I'm having this intention. I hope we all share it enough by the end of the day that we can manifest it, of an ongoing, regular meeting. We're all going to keep having our fun at our events. I've made it very clear to people in advance, this is not an event. I'm not coming to have fun, I'm not serving you food. We're here to get down to the business of shifting our planet, shifting our community. What do we need to do to take action in our lives to organize? That's what today is about, and that's what this level is about. So this video has, other people from the community standing up and sharing about what they heard and what they wanted to create in the world. So again, this is where I'm going back, and I'm taking everything that we did in the past and building on it by acknowledging all of these past moments in time that these people were a big part of, and inviting them to be a big part of what's happening now. And so a lot of these people will start jumping back in, like our mutual friend, Kevin Walton, who was a feature of a lot of these events, because he was one of the people whose energy, vibration, his words were so important for me in setting the energy that I wanted to create in the world, right? Like Kevin was doing it. So I had him speak at events to create, the vibration of these events, right? And this vibration now, a lot of these people are going to be showing up, as you're showing up and others are showing up, to be the vibrational anchors of what we're creating, right? Because this is bigger than all of us. This is all of us together, right? So what I'm sharing with you right now in terms of reaching back is that, like, Chia is a great example where, I said, Chia, let's, connect, let's tune me into what you're up to now, what you want to create. And so we created this page that you were just seeing. So we have the full video down here, and this is using the Uniting for Action system, which you and I are about to start using. So here is the full, hour and a half video. And then what I did was I manually processed it, where I took out the couple minutes about the party that she had the other night, and then, the 5-minute overall description, and then, what it is to be a collector, and then me sharing back about that, and then sharing her artwork, and then the retreat, as you saw. So each of these are like a 3-minute blurb, a 5-minute blurb. And this is me doing manual processing of the videos to achieve what the AI will be doing for us as we train the AI, which is to pick out these important parts and assimilate them on a page that tells a story and allows us to communicate whatever it is we want to communicate to people, right? So this is what it looks like manually, and soon there will be many, many people doing this type of work manually, and very, very quickly, all of that's going to be, pretty much replaced by AI, except for different trainings that we're going to be doing to the AI. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, one point, I believe technology is moving fast enough to where maybe the rollout can already have that digital fluidity, that AI fluidity from rollout. Maybe a controlled environment testing beta.
For sure, for sure. That's the thing. And it really, again, all comes down to who's going to show up and how soon, right? Because as soon as like some big AI person, that is significant in the industry and has all kinds of connections in the industry sees this and says, yes, this is where to put our attention. And they start wrapping their arms around gathering up a bunch of AI people that can get stuff done quick. But we're on a whole different scale than you and I and a few of our friends, trying to figure it out. You get what I'm saying?
That's a component that I bring, being mindful about what belongs in what stage of development. So I think with here, I can go back and answer the question from before the break. I bring the collective, in collective form, in collective form. Like I feel like as we get to know each other, we're going to find out that our parallel walks have taken us through parallel universes. I have a village as well, a village that categorized me of hypocritical in a way, because in moving forward, they thought I was going back, because I transcended them to go into the objective darkness, not just, us, but like where it takes me. And they are definitely in my memory bank. But for time traveling purposes, bending time, I have a collective facility as well, where there's collective access. So like immediate access to foundation with over 56 centers around the country, each serving over 100 families of people with Down syndrome. Instant product placement in a web series that we're negotiating with Hulu, created by the Autism Theater Project. Instant. You mentioned coral reefs. My connection, Melanie McField, she runs Healthy Reefs for Healthy People, the largest, the official. They issued the official report card for the coral reefs in this hemisphere as for environmental conversations.
That's awesome.
With stations in Miami, Belize, Mexico. I'm very close with the owner. We've traveled together. I'm talking about disseminating this, finding a way to have a conversation with a conference that's reaching 3,000 kids a year in New York City, bringing them all into the United Nations to pass resolutions, mock resolutions for a better world. In fact, the foundation is called Youth for a Better World, operating as Montessori Model United Nations. So, and I'm there February again for the ninth year, and I'm there again in March. And they're organizing now Thailand. Rome is scheduled for June, the Rome conference. Is the largest youth conference, model UN for kids 9 to 15. And the chairman of the board, who has direct access to the table that created the sustainable goals for the United Nations, is Michael Jacobson, is one of my mentors in my mentor chain, who I'll see him again. They live in Italy. But when they were living here in Victoria Park, my workplace was their house. Every day, mentoring me and teaching me. He's the person I developed software with, without software knowledge, just development. He helped me. He taught me how to develop projects. And that circles back to, and I'm also dealing with influencers. I have, my friend Karsten, there's over 250,000 followers. Very good friend, just opened the club in downtown Fort Lauderdale, bought the building. It's called Chemistry with a K. And this guy has a lot of followers that are about to grow. He has a lot of connections. He wants to have the first negative, uh, carbon negative concert, right? Uh, Carbon negative based on how it's assembled and put together, and also a tree planted with every ticket sold. That's his thing, right? So
That's
he'll
great.
eat this up. He'll eat this up. And he
That's
introduced
great.
me to this guy, Tim, who owns a company called Smog Armor. Smog Armor is a paint company. It's the first negative emissions paint that absorbs emissions out of the air. They donated the paint for Gigi's Playhouse, which is the Miami branch of that 56. You know, it's, I've been connecting them. We're about to do I've been doing the work, the legwork. It's gonna meet you closer than you think in terms of collective reach, because I've been mapping this, waiting for the thing, right? You've been building your side, waiting for a thing, right? And as I find out, wow, this is already all cleared. I don't have to do all of this. Believe you me, I bring the same effect. It's just that we're in the stage of introducing this part. When I introduce my side, brother, the conversations, it's, I've been dragging this network and letting it know what it's for without letting it know what it's for. It's been a slow, subtle conversation over the years of this goes somewhere. They know it in their heart, people in Africa, teachers in Africa, ready to duplicate systems that we find that are working out. Youth centers, is many filmmakers, at least 6 fashion designers. Many, I mean, at a personal level, people that sleep in my house, I sleep at their house. Actors, models, painters, NFT people, crypto people, bankers, vice presidents of banks, friends, Latin celebrities. I work every year. This year will be the 8th year that I work major Latin music award shows face to face with all the Latin celebrities. So this is more like now, all right, I can turn the lights on in my little storage, So even my own people, a lot of them super gifted. It's just like filling a jar with marbles, put the big ones in first, and drop the other ones, because some of them are going to have an expansive reaction. You know what I mean? I am within one conversation of everything I mentioned, by the way, within one conversation, nothing is bridged that I said. Everything is with decision makers, right? So
it's
in
really
some cases,
amazing.
I am the decision maker in some cases, and so I have a CMOS company rolling out in January, Mystic Bloom CMOS, Mystic Bloom CMOS. We have a lot of excitement being built up around us. We have a great brand. I have brand ambassadors. I'm managing an artist that has 160,000 followers in the Christian community. I'm managing her. I run everything for her. Everything. Literally everything. Half of my time in the computer is everything. Contracts, flights. So this is the catch off for me. This helps me. If I don't run into you, if I don't meet you, I would feel like a chef that found every ingredient to create every meal in the world with no kitchen. Show me the kitchen.
I really honor you, brother, for that.
That's why I'm meant to see it so quick. This is not, I'm meant to see it because we're here to do this, It's like if it's in my dreams, it'll come through somehow. It'll hit me because it is seamless. I can't tell you how seamless it is. The conversations I can have with the scale of what we're holding now allow me to bypass, for now, even some of my closest people that are great day one, I'll get to you, because right now we have some serious conversations with some serious expanders, right? Exponential. So from a project management perspective, Well, first, I'll leave that for last. From a team building perspective, I've had, I call it the fortune, I could also call it the lesson, the great experience of, for the last, I would say 10 years, I've only been increasing the number of teams that I work with every year on a steady basis. It's like playing 7 chessboards at the same time. So some of them operating at the highest echelon of corporate standards and productivity. Some of them at the bottom. And I'm visiting, all of it. And I'm seeing the guts of all of it. So I'm building, I'm cutting the fat out of, because all sides have fat, even the successful, so I'm involved in that sense. And it's all been preparing me for this. It's all been preparing me for this. My project management experience takes me to operate better if I see the core. If I go from the dot outwards, from the dot. So you got 2 dots, I'll start with 2 dots. If you got 3, I'll start with 3. But if you have 1, I'll be pleased. Just for like, it's like if I'm just a default, I have to see things better if I see it from inception. I see the outwardness, the growth or spiral, whatever you want. If I can see it, I will play a better role in it because my mind operates on all fronts. My specialty is to come into a team that's doing everything chaotically and organize them and departmentalize them and establish the standards of communication and systems, structure. That's how my mind is.
Bro.
That's how my mind is. I'm the only person that you'll find that has been homeless and folds every piece of clothing that he has perfectly in his suitcase. Like everything's still, if I got this much, that would be perfect. You know what I mean? I'm just obsessive compulsive about order, structure, sequence, timelines, gestation periods, allowing patience through understanding of what it takes for something. I'm usually the guy in the team saying, no, guys, come on, let's take the hardest route. Because the hardest route is, let's not go through the big door. Let's really build this. Let's really do this. Let's not go impulsively and prematurely put it out. It could come out this much better. Let's take the time. Investor, shut your face. Wait for the money. You wait for this. Like everybody, let's wait. Whatever it is that's pushing you to let's do this. Let's all wait because the justice is in its full form. As far as we can take it, we'll know how far we can take it. We won't have to foresee it. I think we just work, chop. That's why the simplicity is simple, but it really applies to chop wood, carry water because it'll stop me. Stop. Enough. So like right now, this is stopping me. This is telling me, hey, okay, enough. Student tree of everything. Get on your roll. Start activate yourself now. Really, enough scavenging. It's not enough capturing. Projecting, that's it. Hands on now. Now I'm thinking about how I'm going to talk to these people. Hey, we've been knowing each other for 10 years, but this is really why I met you. So you ready? Boom, boom, boom. And present the big picture because I'm also selecting people not only in their capacity, their reach, but also their ability to quick understand. Somebody understanding fast is worth more than somebody understanding slow with a lot to give. But you got to have 28 conversations before they get it, right?
Exactly.
So so that's why my questions go all over the place because I want to have the full circle but I want to create the full circle that you created from yours, not take yours. I want to create it and see it like you see it, keeping my versions of it intact that are non-struck. They're not touching the frame of anything, just little nuances, to then later, because I'll know at what stage it's healthy for me to start saying, hey, but I'm willing to operate in some way that I don't necessarily see it. And that hasn't happened. Everything you said resonates the way you're building this. But in that instance, I will know that there's a time and place for things, ahead. I'm a person about weekly meetings. Hold your thoughts, for the weekly meeting, Well, not anymore now. We can just put it out. But, in the sense of let's not get ahead of ourselves. So yes, I would like a core foundational involvement at the root of it, no matter what it takes. If we got to talk 3 hours a week for the next 50 weeks, I don't care. Because we're not beating the perfect timing, regardless. Whatever that perfect timing is, we're not beating it. And if it's meant to be sooner, it'll stop us and pick us up and grab us and elevate us right there. Somebody will be like, hey, OpenAI, a $2 million project, got a $56 billion offer 1 month in the market. So we just focus on what's in front of us. And I think we have a lot of work to do before we put this out, so we could do justice to really exploring what's out there already that's seamless. Because I'm also all about having these conversations of priority. So say, for example, we identify Zoom as a great potential development partner. I'm the guy that writes, I'm the guy that finds who to write to and get in touch with them. And I've reached major large brands, Kohler, Spirit Airlines, and I've reached the people just digging, just believing, So not only I have who I have, but I have who I don't have too. Because I'm a drill. I drill right through. I find what I need. I'll find it in Craigslist. The Spirit will tell me where to find it. I'll find the biggest thing on Craigslist. So I bring a lot to the side of the gathering that is not my tribe. It is going to be identified agents, objectively identified for the biggest things. You know what I mean? Not serving anything within my story. So, and the model to follow to reach out is also something that's going to be structured. All the literature that we need to do for the invitation letters, cover letters for packages and things that need to go out before we have a phone communication, formalities that you and I might not need, but we need to, presentation, a short video presentation, a quick intro, impactful, something impactful and short that wants them to, our marketing starts now pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you're bringing all that to the forefront because you're right. And essentially, it starts from this. It starts from you asking me questions and me answering and you drilling down with more questions to all of the details that people are interested in. First, that you're forecasting that people are interested. Eventually, by statistics, what people are most interested in, right? What our followers are asking us to talk about and to create new thoughts about, right? So eventually it's just statistically driven of what we're going to be talking about. But in this moment, what you and I are doing is you're projecting into your relationships with these different people that you have, and you're imagining what they want to see and what they want to hear based on what you know about them. And then you're going to create a package, video,
and what I've
whatever
gathered,
it is.
Also, what I've gathered in terms of systemic needs by touching so many teams, seeing so many approaches, seeing so many dynamics, so many structure forms, so many philosophies, so many cultures, and I fit in all of them, right? I hang out with loan sharks, and I hang out with diplomats. So, it's all the same because it's right. So what that has allowed me to do, if I could express it in this way, is I represent an individual form of the many. Because I bring the thoughts of the many. I bring the inquiries, the problems, the repetitive issues, the looping. I go work with foundations that are thriving. Then I go work with a foundation. I'm like, I'm waiting for them to get it. I'm like, you guys, I saw it over there. It works. You guys, the reason why there's board fatigue is because, I understand the chain reaction, domino effect, going down to back to the root. I can literally show them why their board fatigue is tied to them not wanting to implement the systems that make things easier. So now things are harder. So now there's a conversion of input into now you need more input to get the same result because you refuse to follow this technology. You don't check your organizational email. So I'm the guy trying to straighten things out, and this just allows me to speak beyond myself. Beyond myself. But it's like what this project needs is that the collective clears the fog collectively, right? So everybody will play an equal responsibility. So even I don't have a greater responsibility or a greater role. What makes my role seem greater is that it's like what do you call this? Absent voting for people. I'm bringing.
Being the proxy.
I'm one person who's going to open the fog of dozens.
Yeah, many more.
With the actual and populated as well, not just the conceptual ideas based on experiences and common challenges that I've experienced. In fact, one of my projects required that I did a study of common challenges of nonprofits and things. So, but also these same people that I've learned from or at are people that I've cleared the pathways of communication to allow for this large of a conversation.
That's all perfect what you're sharing. I mean, what you're sharing before, it just shows that, like, a formula that you've seen somewhere that'll work somewhere else. And at the moment, you can only go to one, entity at a time and try to help them all manually. And like, how many can you get to, and what can you really help with in that kind of model, right? But in this way, you do it once and you create a template, and now everyone around the country and around the world can just implement the template, wherever they're at.
Correct.
And
that's another way I see this, is a canvas for something I've been walking around with, which is, I believe I have incomplete blueprints to the fastest thing we can continue to make faster together, which is kind of like what you're doing in the sense of of systems. For me, it's almost like psychological in my connection, because I have to connect with a lot of people. It's almost like out in the field, like throwing it out, the same thought that brings you to create something like this, interact at that level of thought, so the same, it left me.
Yeah, but I get what you're saying about the different levels of thought and connecting at the different levels of thought, because it does change, the game in terms of how we are interacting with the world. It's a whole different way of interacting with the world. And I totally appreciate, all of the different ways that you're sharing that you can use what you're seeing to accomplish the visions, in your head, and that you've had all of these visions, as many of us had for so long about, and like, I totally get the whole constipation analogy you used before. I've been that way for my whole life. There's been so much trying to come out of me and no outlets to be able to get it all out into the world. And so it's just all like stuck in this, and it's challenging for us who have these visions day after day, week after week, year after year. There's so much of us that could be creating in the world that's never getting out, because we have no way of getting it out before now.
We don't even have the language to express where it comes from. Much less but it's evolving, because it's all about consistency, faith and consistency. Because I remember when I first came to that, I knew I was speaking in a strange language to people. And the ultimate point of decision is, do I continue to do this and keep betting on this weirdness of a new world, or do I fall back in line? Well, I kept on keeping on, So it's like it's likely to be expected from me to come out of the cave with something like this, come out of my cave with what you have built. It fits the storyline that's been built for me. All I'm doing is moving my feet, my hands. I'm doing nothing else. It's like sail. I have a sail, and the winds, I'm like, wow, these winds are very exact, I'm not steering. Sometimes I steer a direction that falls apart, and I end up where I have to be. But that's the sense, and it's not to overemphasize, but when it comes to the collective, the population of this, I'm gonna have accessible, great candidates to kick off with something populated with brands that are familiar to at least a segment of the population.
Awesome, bro.
Um,
I totally get that, and I really honor and appreciate where you're coming from with that, and I see that. I'm just pulling up the ramp up plan so we can look again at the step by step, because like you said, there's some time for us to get our materials together, get the videos together. I'm in a mode right now where I'm about to have a lot of conversations so that the conversation can keep evolving and keep refining, and I can get, see what people are asking and see what makes an impact for them and all of that. So that's a part of the process right now. Let me share this with you and talk about it as we're looking at
I was
it.
just looking see if I had a light here. I don't think
Oh
there's a
yeah,
light out here.
that's
Sorry about
great.
that.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could do something about that. That's awesome.
Let me see. I'll go inside. There's people inside. Hang on a second.
All right, let me pause. So I was just thinking, as we're getting closer to 6:30 and there's still so much I want to cover, what's your availability like tomorrow to continue the conversation?
Tomorrow, let me see. Hang on a second.
Let me pause again. It should record as I'm sharing with you the strategy right now. Let me go to what I was actually just pulling up, and we'll follow along with that, because this is right now the ramp up plan. And then this is the phase that we're in, the build a foundation phase. And the first part of that, as I shared before with you, is the reactivate my networks. So connecting with energetic planet, higher vibe life people, and then managing the alpha launch of the system itself. Like I said, I would like to see it launched in 2 months. So like February 1st, if we can get it done that quickly for the alpha launch. And then, part of what's going to be happening along the way, as you can see, is I'm going to be having conversations with you and other people that are describing all of the other parts of all of the other pieces of all of this, right? And it's going to be a lot of my hours as I start, especially as I start to get more and more the infrastructure set up around me. I'm getting to the point where it'll just be hours and hours and hours of me sharing thoughts in a conversation, or just sharing thoughts to be recorded that are turning into thought maps, that are turning into intentions and actions, and going out from there. So,
are you doing AI transcriptions?
Well, I'm not doing it yet, but that's a part of what's going to start happening right away. That's this part of this early phase. So this is still in this early phase, the next like 2 or 3 months, to record and share many more details, and to start to incorporate those types of technologies and all of that.
Because that could be a widget inside of Zoom at this point, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I know that Zoom, when I logged on recently, said something about generating a summary, an AI summary of the meeting. Well, that might be a
yeah.
button.
My boss for that conference, he sent me an email. He used it for our first Zoom meeting 2 days ago, and yesterday he sent me an email. He forwarded the transcription. He goes, "Holy shit! Look what AI just transcribed." It was perfect. It was excellent. Action items at the end. Everything. It extracted everything.
That's great. I just pulled it up, and it has an agreement that I want to look through a little more closely. But yeah, see where we can start doing that. And we will start to use all these tools. The concerns that I have are that I want to create. Let me stop sharing this. This is an important part to understand. I don't want to start feeding all of Uniting for Action content right now into AI systems that other people can start to process before we're in a position to do it ourselves. I want at least us to be able to start processing our content via AI before we're kind of like releasing it into the wild. The idea of what we're doing with the Uniting for Action system is that we're creating a closed AI environment where other AI systems, ideally, I hope the technology exists, are not able to get at the content inside the Uniting for Action system, because we're all creating together to create a system that benefits the collective together. So what we're doing internally is what allows us to get our fair exchange of value and all of that, because we're operating in an AI system that's tracking our direct contributions, that's tracking all of these different things. And if we have AI systems that are essentially
it's learning, and it's uploading all that info.
to the collective global brain.
So, but going back to the controlled environment, that's where like strategically my mind is. So I'm thinking, for example, I'm the founding board vice president of Gigi's Playhouse Miami. Gigi's Playhouse Miami is a franchise model nonprofit achievement center for people with Down syndrome. We service about 180 families, probably more, 200 and something maybe by now. And there are 54 other centers throughout the US. Every center is operating under an exact and precise corporate model in the same way as if you were to buy a franchise of McDonald's or Subway. You're given branding guidelines. You will only write the name like this. You will never, everything is approved, everything is templated, so they all look the same. And they have a highly functional corporate office. People are very competent, based in Chicago. Because I'm the superior corporate head, even though I'm the vice president, our founder just happens to be the person that acquired the franchise, and she has a daughter with Down syndrome. But I am the corporate guy. I'm very close to the founder, Nancy Gianni. Her daughter, Gigi, the foundation is named after her. And they're very much about duplicating functional models. So this is all being consolidated using Outlook 365 or whatever it's called, web-based Outlook. So there's a master drive. Each center has a drive. So if I log into OneDrive right now through my Gigi's Playhouse account, I have access to our local drive, my drive, or local drive, and the master drive. Highly functional compared to what we're coming from, But compared to what we're talking about, this is static, right? It's bumpy. It's a square. It's like rolling a square, because now you need it. It's not easy to adapt. It has low adaptability. These people don't understand. I am a founding VP, so 5 years, and I've been in my to-do list to try to get them to start using Teams and task managers and stuff. I can't even get them to check their emails, right? So this is a facilitator for everyone. It makes it accessible to everyone. And in my company, I run it on Google Workspace, so I know the competition even better. And they're a little more advanced in the fluidity of things and how they're finding ways. You see them finding ways to, based on the releases and upgrades, you see that they find a way to connect something else. And, oh man, you can see it. And they're still kind of like slow compared to this, I still feel like it's still lagging at their highest. Or how they incorporate their AI. I'm like, they didn't do it the best way. Who am I? But, my own government for sure. So I respect my thoughts, but I don't, these are thoughts that wait for greater visions. I can't really go out there and complain, and we're advancing. But what you're presenting it's just eons ahead. It's the arrival point of all these tools. Is the meeting ground of all this technology running rampant, bumping against each other.
I really appreciate you putting it that way. I think that's a great way to describe it, and that's really cool. And I'm psyched for you bringing all of that background and knowledge and experience and platforms for us to create with. It sounds like almost certainly they're going to be a founding launch partner on a national level.
That's what I envision. What I envision. you know.
Yeah.
And when I talk about this conference in New York, it's because I've had prior conversations. Some of them I've gotten the green light, and I myself say, nope, this we might not be able to fit the opportunity, fit in the window of opportunity. And, you know, to partner with this foundation to get something in the hands of the kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
That all go back to every corner of the world. You know what I mean? Not once, you know, so we are instantly reaching the corners, you know, so access to dropping anything inside a gift bag that goes to some of the biggest celebrities, you know, during VIP gala award shows, you know, anything I want to put in there. If you got a perfume, give it to me. I'll put it in there. Emilio Stefan will smell it, you know? So these are things that obviously, but I've been waiting for the right, for what that right thing was, the right key for all this.
It's so great that you're bringing all of that up and all of those opportunities. I just want to say really briefly, since you're mentioning it, and it's an important part to you and important part to Uniting for Action, is the activation of the kids and the young people. Because I forget if you and I went down this road before. I know I talked about it recently. You know, again, because the system is agnostic to who's using it. Anybody can be a power user of this system. And I know a lot of young people are incredible at what they already do within our existing systems of our world. I want to make sure that we have all of the proper oversight and security and systems in place that people of just about any age, I mean, it'll be up to parents, but I want to have systems that people are engaging at, you know, for sure, at least from middle school forward, but probably, you know, a bit younger than that. It's just that this is a platform to allow people who are engaged, regardless of their age or their background or where in the world they are or any kind of, you know, special needs, that people can shine, you know,
Well,
this platform.
the conference has an activity, a full day activity inside the conference called the Youth Impact Forum. And this is where different groups of kids, some of them are cells of kids that are working remotely. So might be a group of kids from different locations in the world working on a particular project to bring technology, sustainable technology, to somewhat of a Shark Tank type of environment. Right. So, you know, in my optimistic mindset, I'm thinking, you know, the usage by these kids could be actually them being part of the development inside of a program that's also presenting it while they're populating it in order to develop it with ideas. These kids are, you know, they bring ideas every year, great ideas, solar power this and that, ocean cleaning situations, you know, and then at the end of the day, you know, even though it's a mock UN conference, the guest list includes some of the top dignitaries, top positions in several, you know, like World Health Organization, you know, the Water Project, you know, these kind of people are there physically, you know, dignitaries and vice presidents, you know, prime ministers of small nations and things.
These are perfect examples of where the kids are in perfect opportunities to begin the conversations, and especially through the connections that they're making at an event like this, and through media and social media and things that we can do to video those kids and put their messages out and get publicity and all that sort of thing. Then they are recruiting the influencers, and they're recruiting the brands, and they're recruiting the whatever to come together and make a difference in the world, right? Again, it's like whoever is willing to do the legwork to put all the pieces together as we're building templates for how you create results, you know, it's whoever it is.
No, and that's what I've been doing, is identifying those people, even though I didn't know for what. Identifying parts for a machine I hadn't seen yet, right? The camera guy that we hired for this conference, I met him, I brought him to do the camera work, but he's a filmmaker, working on funded films, you know, small projects. And he was the official media person for a while for a very large foundation in New York. It's called Sunset something it's a foundation. It's like a Make-A-Wish type of foundation. I believe Jewish, just fulfilling kids' last dreams, whatnot. And he was working with $1 million budget, and part of that budget went to develop a video app software that has at least the skeleton for what we're talking about. And they never used it. He's sitting on it. And it's, be tweaked, whatever.
Yeah.
So, a lot of these things are there, just conversations waiting to happen. And I talk to this guy every week. So
that's amazing. All of these things coming and just to share, because I know we got to wrap up pretty soon here. It's amazing everything you're sharing. And I want to kind of share again where a lot of these things are that you're describing, these connections are going to come in these phases, the raise the influencer army phase, where we're going for influencers and leaders and assembling teams. And then finally, the established relationships where we're really getting into all of that. And some of them will come earlier, but the whole build the foundation right now is the priority organizationally, as far as I see it, in terms of time. Managing the alpha launch, recording, well, first of all, reactivating my networks, managing the alpha launch, recording and sharing a lot of the details. We got to get that all automated and happening a lot so that, it builds from me sharing the thought map and you and others sharing their thought maps with me. And then assembling these teams, the administrative, the video processing for the reasons we're talking about, communications, technology, client relationships, establishing the realm of empowerment to help empower us all, that expand the collective pool of resources in terms of, the time, the financial support, the influence. And these are high priority right in this moment. I know we're running out of time, so it's part of what I want to share with you, next time we get to talk. But, part of just, well, you talked about disruption, and I shared a little bit about, the disruptive place I've been for so long, but also I just had to move out of the place where I was staying in Fort Myers, and now I need to find a temporary home in South Florida until the next phase, which is going to be in Los Angeles. I think we talked about, for the reasons of being in the midst of the influencers and creating content with them and being in that space. That's going to be my home base. As soon as possible, I'd like to set like 2 to 3 months is the time frame that I'd like to be in South Florida to just reconnect with all of these.
I got a great guy over there for you.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. So, I want to reconnect and have this moment with the whole South Florida community that I've been with and round up all the energy to be able to have it as a launching pad for the next phase as I go to Los Angeles, as the influencer army starts to come together, as we start to go to this bigger scale. So that's the timing. And for right now, I need to find some place that I'm going to live for the next 2 to 3 months is really the idea. That's a really high priority for me right now because I essentially need to be moving in like Sunday, like in 3 days.
Are you working on a budget or how's this for you?
So yeah, let me share that aspect really quick. And I know you have to leave soon, and I apologize that we're getting a little rushed because I want to have a bigger conversation around all this, but I'll dive right in since you're asking and we're there right now in the conversation. Because again, this is a high priority for me right now. The whole finances side has been me like living on a razor's edge for all of these years. Like most of the time, not having enough for.
I already get it.
Yeah. So
I already get it. Same exact same. You know who Bashar is?
Bashar?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
He does these channelings online.
Oh yes, okay. Yes,
The
seen him
old
in the
channeling
past.
I heard that stayed in my head. He was channeling the definition of abundance. You know, it was longer than this, but essentially abundance, the ability to do what you need to do when you need to do it, period. And I
Yeah.
ran with that. And here I am, the same razor's edge, standing on it, 2 feet, just better balance, you know, stronger faith, and knowing that it's coming to an end. So I get you 100%.
Yeah, and it's great that you're sharing that because it is coming to an end right now for both of us through this.
Yeah.
It's a new conversation, a new game. We have all of we need in value in order to have people showing up with substantial resources to set us up in the way that we need to marshal this forward. So that is like the shift, like overnight for
The
me.
return of that is the return of value. That's how it's going to look to humanity. The return of value, and for us,
Yes, and that's part of, I'll just bring it up really quickly because you just mentioned it and it's going to be our next conversation, hopefully tomorrow or whenever you can, because in particular, I want to get these wheels in motion for both of us like right away, because it's very critical for me, even for eating right now, you know, as well as for having a place to live. But this is the value exchange that we're going to start to map with people. So, you know, one, we're providing a path to survival, which is the primary for a lot of people, but also reality creations, whatever you want to create. And that's what you and I are going to start to do as we start to use the system, is our reality creations. I'm going to show you examples of what I've done with other people that use the system to create their realities. The exposure, the prestige, the visibility, the brand association, all the things that we're talking about that are going to bring people to want to be a part of this, the signups, the referrals, the different councils that we're going to have of leaders, business leaders, energetic leaders.
you have all these as standalone documents.
No, no. And that's
Okay.
where what it's going to be, rather than a document creation, is it's going to be a conversation between you and I going into the details.
These are the aspects you're ready to hand off for conversation.
It's
at this stage.
Yeah, like this is where I'm just running through the outline of all of this, and when we're ready, it'll either be with you or it'll be with somebody else that they'll be asking, so what does that mean? And when you say this, what about this? And so what about this? And we'll just be going down these thought paths around each one of these bullet points until we've got
feedback, like a feedback loop, until as we refine it.
Exactly, because then we've got all of the video to then chop up and then put into all of the thought maps, and now all of those things are answered until the next questions come up to extend it even more, right?
Now, what are you doing immediately with this video? And you can answer that later. Say what you were going to say. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's a perfect question, because right now I'm not sure how much, well, I don't have the bandwidth to process this video right now. So what there is for you and I to do is to start to figure out the specific ways to create value, that we have value to hire somebody or have somebody.
Well, I do know how to edit video. Where do you keep this data?
Well, let me share with you what it's looked like up to this point. So, you know, I get the video downloaded from Zoom onto my computer right now. It can be cloud. And then what I've done in the past.
You said it can be cloud or it cannot be cloud?
It can be, yeah. We can do it in the cloud as well. But just as an example, well, so this is an example of where I did a deep dive into analyzing one of the videos.
Video, I see it. Time frames, I see it. Topics. Okay.
Yep, these were the ratings to like prioritize what should be given attention to, a quick description. At some point we would have tags, but this is just a very like analog way of doing all of this to set like a model for what it could look like, and to get a system starting to automate this and to train people how to do this, and to start having other people, you know, processing my conversations and your conversations. And that's what we're going to start to do very quickly. So in our next conversation tomorrow, as soon as we can have it, you and I are going to start to figure out who to talk to start to bring in value.
I think my next conversation is my next conversation, the one I'm having at 7. This is a guy that was referred to me. my partners met him at an event, and now we're gonna have a broader conversation. He loved the CMOS concept. He's a storyteller, branding expert.
Awesome. That's
And
what
he
it's
and we
all about.
spent an hour talking, and he told me that there's nothing he loves more in the world than listening to visions. These were his words. And his website, this is not a beginner trying to pick up scraps. This is a guy that's choosing to look where he wants to look. His profile is pretty powerful, and his experience and all that. So we're talking to them at 7:00. And I think I'm going to tell him, I don't know if you want to have a three-way or you want me to talk to him first. And but I want to have an immediate conversation with him about this without bringing it into this meeting that we're going to have.
Yeah, absolutely. You handle it however you think is best, but that's a perfect example of this is a blank canvas for him as much as anybody. Again, there's so much for him to bring to the table to teach the world about how to do this. One quick thing I'm going to share with you. Did you get to dive into the details of the SAG proposal?
I did not. It's in my task list, but it's just been fighting for prioritization. Honestly, man, we're in the same boat. You know what I mean?
I understand. I just want to share this because it's applicable to the guy that you're about to meet with, or the person you're about to meet with, is that we're about to go through this content revolution, right? Where content creation up to this point has a lot of, especially like in Hollywood and beyond, the influencers, let's put it that way. It's very much been, like content created for movies, for television, then for social media, now for TikToks. It's all of this like content creation for creation, right? But we're about to shift into this new paradigm that I've been sharing with you, where everyone's going to be a content creator because they're going to be recording their thoughts and recording
for productivity beyond entertainment, for content creation, for productivity,
for capturing reality, for capturing conversations, for capturing meetings. But a lot of people that are doing all of that are not necessarily the most inspirational people in order to deliver the content, right? So they're having the thoughts, they're having the ideas, all of that, but it still needs to be presented in like the most inspirational way, because all of this content is now, we're going to multiply the sources of content by thousands, tens of thousands of times more content to choose from. So how are we going to choose any of the content that we're going to be consuming? Well, first of all, a lot of it is just going to boil down to statistics for us. So that's important for us to know, that a lot of the content that we're going to create is just going to get turned into statistics of what we're sharing, and our friends are just looking at statistics about things. But the content that people will actually consume has to be the winning content, which means that influencers, that people that come across well to influence people, are going to be the ones that are creating the content that's going to be essentially running the world, right?
Transformative,
So that's essentially, it'll be people getting behind those people, like the spokespeople, the people that are leading the way, the faces of the movement. It's going to be the people that are best at gathering and bringing people forward. And that's going to start with existing influencers, like we talked about before, because they already have the audience. So they're going to start to do this, and they're going to parlay it into a new way of interacting with their followers, like we said, in real time, responding to them, having meetings like in real time, being the representative of their whole constituency, like we got into last time, right?
Yeah.
So like all of this now is a whole new paradigm of content creation, reality creation, people living their lives and broadcasting and all of that. So this, the person you're about to speak with has a really important role in helping to teach society, guide society, like create this whole new experience for society.
That's the thing, that something had to impair my impulsivity, right? To throw everything I really want to throw into this. So my point of reference is, what is the project asking for at this point? So this is not because he's the next guy in the in my memory bank. It's like a storyteller,
Yeah, and it's perfect
because that's who, because we'll need an animator maybe, you know, if they say this is going to be something we can present in 30 seconds, a bunch of 30-second clips and animation, really dope, people actually having the experience, showing the sequence, right, of the use. But I can't talk to an animator because I can't tell the story. I understand it perfectly. I can see it unfolding. I can't tell it. A storyteller does that, and now we could bring in the technical knowledge to, you know, to follow that storyline, which is gonna be, he's gonna require that he captures everything you've created, everything you've transferred to me, and when he sees that it lives inside of him, it breathes, then it's automatic. You know, he's gonna do what he does, and that's gonna pave the way for the next thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's so perfect because you're getting what I'll just kind of end with, I guess, to share, you know, as we were talking before, everything that we want to create in reality comes down to agreements, right? We kind of came to that realization before. Agreements are what we seek on this other side of a story. So we are telling a story seeking an agreement, and that is how we get agreement. We get agreement by telling a story that somebody agrees with. And that's why I built the original name of the system that I'm showing you is the story making machine. I started building the story making machine because I realized that in order to create our reality, we had to create agreements. In order to create agreements, we had to tell a story, and we have to tell a different story to every different person that we want to create an agreement with, a certain version of the story. Like some parts are the same, but some parts are very specific to them and what they care about and all of that. So that's what this is all about. This whole system is the mechanism to allow us to get proficient and get really good at telling stories over and over and over again, to get the agreements that we want over and over and over again, to be able to create the realities that we want over and over and over again. And that is the formula for building reality.
Yep. And I could see that what you're saying, I could truly embody the consumer, because if I limit myself to only a consumer of this, I can see all the ways this came to uncork certain things that other tools just didn't have it, you know, their usage limitations do not allow me to. But I want to ask you a question, just so as I formulate who those next people are. You have any priority conversations regarding metaverse?
When you say priority conversations, what do you mean by that?
Like, is there an intrinsic role of the metaverse, or something that you say, well, we'll figure out how to work with it, or is it something that you have advanced ideas and concepts?
No, yeah, I have relatively advanced ideas about it. What I believe is I believe that what I'm describing, all the functionality that we can provide right now, I'm limiting to a screen, either on a laptop or a tablet or a phone. And that interface as a two-dimensional interface is limited in so many ways. So what the metaverse, to me, the biggest value of the metaverse in the shortest term is that it provides an interface with all that we're creating within the
United States. More streamed experience, more streamed.
Like I believe that the fastest navigation that people, until we get brain implants, basically, the fastest navigation of our way through all of this stuff is going to be like through hand movements and just gestures and all of that. Like we are going to really focus on what's the, and also how can we take in information?
Like waking up a sixth sense. We're building another sense.
I feel like we're going to essentially be flying through thoughts. Like we're going to be like literally, that's going to be one of the interfaces, is flying through thoughts and guiding yourself through all these different.
So I have a virtual reality partner that can create that. She creates virtual reality meditation experiences where you're literally flying through the cosmos, but through your own chakra system, going up as she meditates on that chakra. You're actually elevated in the cosmos. You have the chakras floating. It's amazing. So it's very much about technology and spirituality. And a filmmaker friend that the one with the app, he's from India and is connected to a metaverse company in India that gives them great deals and terms because they want to partner with projects. So
Yeah, the way that I see it, it's great. Thank you for sharing that. The way that I see it is that the way that Meta, Facebook and Zuckerberg and those kind of people have been trying to unlock the metaverse is kind of like backwards. They're like
Mm.
the metaverse is going to be great. Let's go build something that people are going to want to come to. I kind of see it in the reverse. I see it as where once we start to push outside the limits of what our current environment
Let the
and
demand take us there.
exactly let the demand take us into the metaverse, and I have plenty of ways that we can create demand to create have
So it's just about bringing the metaverse company inside of the system, and they could grow their thought mappers at their pace.
there exactly, and every artist will be able to share a different way of navigating through thought maps. And again, when you bring in a three-dimensional experience, an immersive experience, it only makes it even more compelling.
So you can present your own dimension pretty much on how to experience this.
Everyone brings their own skins to everything, and
Nice.
and the most popular skins are the ones that get people buy, basically, right? So people are creating new and unique ways to interface with this entire brain, and whoever brings something that people find of value gets value coming back to them, and we just keep evolving.
Sounds good. Well, listen, I feel like, what time is it? It's 6:41. Let's, if you're ready, we can wrap it up. If you have anything, just so I can decompress, ready for the next.
Yeah, no, I want to continue with you deeper on the things we didn't get into, both you using I'm saying next time, you using the system and getting into like specific ways to start to create a foundation of stability for you and I to be able to operate on a higher level around this. At least for me, I don't want to project onto you, but for me, I need to have that place to stay. I need to start having money for everything. I'm at a place just like you where I'm going from last 10 years up until today. It's been a challenge. Today forward, like I have everything I need to create all of this at a super high level. So the expectations are totally different. And that's the conversation I'm having with people right now to create what's needed, by Sunday to create that. And
is there a business plan?
There's not a
project plan.
There's not a business plan. The closest thing are the 10 volumes that I shared with. I don't know if you dove into the 10.
Okay. So I have some diving to do, and that's just been not enough hours in the day, the last few days. I'll follow up. I'll try before tomorrow. There's just a lot back to back that I have. But I'll try to have, because I do know that I have to get like 27 pages. So I need to take that information in so I can know what I'm talking about in terms of that.
Yeah, I think that's a good starting point in terms of a practical application of everything. And then, get as far as you can, but let's have our next conversation because again, I know that there's the opportunity through everything that you're bringing and all the people and all of that to get a lot of things handled that aren't handled right now. And so it's just a matter of you and I conversing back and forth enough to get grounded into those specific conversations and what we need to share with whom in order to get things handled. So, let's,
sounds good. Sounds good. So let's touch base tomorrow, like around 10 by message. And we can pin a time for that, for the afternoon, maybe.
That sounds good, man.
All right. It's been great. And I might be able to, I might not have the time, but I definitely can edit. So if you want to make it accessible, and I do have a drive that is private because I pay for Google Workspace. So if at any time we need a private cloud, I can designate a separate shared folder only for this. It has 9 terabytes or something. So
that's awesome. I really appreciate that. That's great. So why don't you send me a link and I will upload this video there. I'll upload it to YouTube like I've been doing. So we've got it there to view and to share, but I'll send it to you as the full file so that you can edit it and do whatever you want with it. And that's, yeah, we'll talk more about it, but let's start with that. Send me the link to your shared folder and I'll upload it.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Awesome.
All right.
Cool,
Peace,
bro.
brother.
I really honor and
Talk soon.
appreciate you. Super grateful for our connection and our journey together. This is freaking awesome. So here we go.
It's great. It's been great. It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Peace, brother.
Awesome, bro.